Our story begins when the Black Tiger of the Four Winds attacked the palace 5 years ago. The king sent a huge army to fight the tiger that had ruined so many lives, as well as the finest warriors and gifted shamans. They all fell at the claws of the Black Tiger of the Four Winds. And then, one day, the Black Tiger, who had plunged the entire nation into chaos, soon reached the king as well. After losing her husband, the queen fell into despair and began begging the monster for mercy, and the prince barely escaped by hiding in a cargo crate. The survivors had only to pray, but instead of God, it was the same tiger that came to them. This fascinating story was told by a child wearing a tiger mask. The frightened kids screamed at the top of their lungs. The kid was amusing all these guys by telling them about how the black tiger slowly walked through the hall, but suddenly the spirit of the mountains appeared. The boy gathered many children around him, and this time the spirit of the mountains frightened the tiger with its presence and sealed him up. At that moment, a grandmother came running to them looking for a little girl named Yuwa. The grandmother was angry because the little girl should not hang around with that boy in the street. This boy's name is Bongsan, and he only honored her request to tell a story. All the children were very scared of Auntie and started to run away. They knew that it was better not to mess with the Yu family's nanny. Auntie didn't stand still and ran to the clown to grab him. The nanny almost clawed at the boy, but he dodged her grip by jumping right over her back. He got up and ran on, inciting the older woman in every way possible. The boy wiggled and ran farther and farther away, while his young girlfriend smilingly watched in his wake. Running away, he shouted that he would continue the performance tomorrow, and young Yuwa was also invited. How loudly Auntie resented him. After a while, in a little house deep in the woods, with strong hands, the gray-haired old man breaks the mask in half and tells me to try again. The boy was sitting near a stump, carving wood. He was tired of carving masks and wanted to learn a new dance instead. And how will he show the mask dance without masks? Because first you have to awaken the power of the mask, and only then start the performance. Bongsan said he already had a mask. He wanted to keep it a secret from his grandfather, but he still decided to share. He handed him the mask of the legendary monster, the Black Tiger of the Four Winds. The old man took the mask in his hands and scrutinized it carefully. Even if you make a good mask, you can't make a good dance right away. You can't dance a good story about something you don't know much about. A good dance is made if it is close to the dancer. A good mask is modest and close to its creator. And creating a great mask is a matter of experience and many years of painstaking labor. Sometimes there is great power in simple things. The kid didn't want to create a simple mask because that's not cool at all. The old man got up and started to walk away. He always gets away with complicated riddles. It seemed to the boy that the grandfather had weakened a lot, and lately he was looking for excuses about himself in need of a good mask. The old man looked at the boy thoughtfully. He silently walked a little closer to the pile of broken masks. "Bonson's brat," Grandpa said quietly. The boy looked at the old man and got a little nervous. The old man threw the broken mask at the boy and said that if he was so smart, let him get the hell out of here. The kid ran into the woods away from his angry grandfather. The panting old man stared back at him, barely standing on his feet. That same evening, somewhere in the mountains, Bongsan walked through the forest and reasoned that he didn't mean that. He wanted to continue learning from the old man. But learning on his own is not an option, because he will give up quickly. Suddenly he heard a noise in the bushes. He decided to come closer and see what was going on. He saw a wounded deer bleeding. It was not a pleasant sight, and as soon as the kid realized what was happening, he was frightened and fell to the ground. He noticed the deep wounds on the neck. If there was a huge beast that could catch up with a fast deer. He also noticed another animal nearby. It was a small fawn barely standing on its hooves. This situation was very familiar to Bongsan. For once, he had also stood weeping beside someone close to him. He held the body of his barely breathing mother in his arms. As she was dying, she asked him not to grieve for her. At that moment, he also looked at her, the way that little fawn looked at his mother. The boy could hardly hold back his tears. He reached out his hand to the little deer, gently stroked its head. He felt sorry for it, because their fate was so similar. They looked at each other as if they understood everything. That's the moment inspiration came to the guy. He felt like the same helpless fawn. With quick movements, he found a suitable tree. With a small hand tool, he began to carve the mask. It seemed as if his hands knew exactly what to do. The best materials for a mask are always around. You just have to look around. Even the simplest things will give the beginnings of a good mask. He finished his work in no time, and finally did what he had wanted to do for so long. Meanwhile, it was getting very dark outside. The boy took the deer in his hand and began to lead it home. He really hoped that the old man would let them both in. He also thought of a name for the deer. He would call him Damby. On the way home, he comforted the fawn in every way he could. Suddenly, I found bloodstains underfoot. Leaning over slightly to get a closer look, the guy doesn't notice the huge maw of the predator in front of him. "Son of man," came a creepy voice. The boy saw a huge paw step on the bloody ground. From what he saw, the boy's body was numb. He couldn't even move. He remembered the teeth marks on the deer's body, probably the same huge beast. Dark as night fur and blood-red eyes. Lifting his gaze, the guy saw a huge dark tiger in front of him. The beast asked if the boy knew where Bainacha was. The guy looked at the tiger in silence. He didn't understand where the beast came from, or what it was talking about. The tiger wondered why the boy did not answer him. But the kid was interested in another question, why he was hearing the tiger's voice. The fawn was very much frightened and tried to get out. He managed to free himself from the guy's embrace and ran away from the place. "Apparently you don't know," the tiger said and swung his paw at the boy. Bonsan's peripheral vision notices the attempted attack. The boy grabs the mask and removes it from his belt. He puts it on his face and dodges the tiger's attack. Bonsan marveled at his agility in dodging, and even put on the mask without realizing it. A strange feeling spread through his body, and he felt as if his body had become very light. This is probably the true power of the mask that the master spoke of. Tiger saw the mask and realized it was true. The old man must be around somewhere. "Answer me! Where is Bainacha?" shouted the tiger, attacking Bonsan. The boy dodged his attacks but still didn't understand what he was talking about. The boy was jumping like a real acrobat and seemed out of reach. But even though his body felt lighter, he could feel himself slowing down, and he couldn't go on like this for much longer. After the last blow, the boy still had a few scratches. He should run away as soon as he had the chance, but looking at the beast, he had a vague doubt. The black tiger was standing in front of him. He remembered the old man's words that great power lurked in simple things. Closing his eyes, the guy tries to concentrate. He decides to entrust his body to the mask. Suddenly, the mask's eyes glowed with a bright yellow light. The boy disappeared, leaving a pillar of dust in his place. Bonsan's Mask Dance, Act 1, The Dance of the Deer. Bonsan attacks the tiger with a lightning-fast kick. His foot goes straight into the beast's head. He succeeded, his body moving on its own. "A deer?" the tiger asked menacingly. The lad felt terribly threatened. Does he really think a stupid deer mask is comparable to a tiger? "How interesting," the beast said, and swung sharply. With a strong swipe of his paw, he strikes the boy. The beast threw the boy a great distance away. The impact was so strong that the mask almost flew off the boy's face. Bonsan crashed into a tree and sat motionless. "I ask for the last time, where is Bainacha?" roared the tiger angrily. The boy didn't understand who the beast was asking about, and at that moment the strength left Bonsan's body. "If you don't give me an answer, I'll take your life," shouted the tiger, swinging his paw. The boy closed his eyes and was ready to accept his fate. "Bastard!" a familiar voice is heard. The old man lunges into the fray. His fighting style resembles a riot of waves. The beast barely has time to dodge the attack. After distracting the tiger, the master jumps back to the guy. He lands a meter away from Bonsan, blocking the predator's path. The boy notices the familiar earrings. They are the earrings the old man wears. Bonsan didn't expect to see his master here. "There you go. That's where you've been hiding," said the tiger, approaching the old man. When asked why he had come, the tiger replied that he had come to take back what was his. As it turned out, the master was the very spirit of the mountains, Bainacha, and the tiger came to take the human mask. It is deep night, almost nothing can be seen, and only the moon illuminates the area. The old man covers Bonsan from the tiger, which comes closer and closer. Sitting on the ground, the boy tries to understand what a human mask is. The master asked how the tiger managed to break the seal. "It was the will of heaven, and now I will be king," replied the beast. After these words, the tiger rushed to attack. With a huge paw, the tiger strikes the master's head with such force that the mask begins to crack. Suddenly, the old man's body dissolved into thin air. Heaven and Earth Mask Dance, Act 2, Dance of Hechi, Circles on the Water. An old man with disheveled hair appears in the air above the beast. "You look like a fool." "I don't have a human mask," said the master. "Of course. Where would the old man have one?" said the tiger. The beast pushes himself up from his seat and rushes toward the master, for if he does not keep the mask with him, he must have a map showing the way to its location. It was true, but the old man wouldn't just give it away. If the tiger wants it, he can try to take it by force. The master kicked the beast's body with a strong leg kick. The tiger's throw is interrupted by Master Bane Acha's strong attack. The boy watches this fight with his mouth open. Style. Waterfall. The master accelerates himself and pushes the tiger in the direction of the earth with extraordinary force. There is a powerful impact on the ground. The old man jumps away from the epicenter. The boy can't believe his eyes. Is it really his master? The dust settles, the embittered tiger begins to growl even harder. Powerful animal paws tread on the ground. The tiger wonders if the old man wants to stop him, even though he is practically on the verge of death. Bleeding, the old man realizes that he cannot dodge the beastly attacks. The young man slowly gets to his feet. He realizes that the master's case is very bad. The black tiger sees the old man's efforts, but he's not as quick as he used to be. This time he should have been smarter in his choice of opponent. The beast demands obedience from the old man. Is he so afraid of the tiger's rule? The master rises from his knees and says that the time has come. He must correct past mistakes. Mistakes? Correct? Said the tiger indignantly. Is that really why the old man is settled in the depths of the mountains? There was not a shred of logic in that. The beast gradually approaches the gray-haired master. Bonsan notices that things are bad. His master is no longer able to fight. The boy gathers his thoughts, but he has no other choice. He must save his master by all means. But not only is the master exhausted, the tiger is also losing its strength. The pain has receded, and Bonsan decides to at least try. This is my chance, thought the boy as he put on the deer mask. Tiger and master see the kid get up from the ground. Does the old man really live in the forest because of this kid? Thought the tiger. Bonsan froze in place again, seeing the tiger's gaze on him. Don't you dare touch him, the master said, wiping the blood off his chin. From those words, the beast realized that the old man had grown quite attached to the guy, and using that information, he offered him a deal. Either he would give him the map and the boy would live, but if he said no, "I'll have no other choice," shouted the black tiger, rushing towards Bonsan. The boy is in great danger. The master must do something, and very urgently. A violent explosion blows down trees standing nearby. A bright light emanates from the scene. Tiger is trying to see what's wrong. Bonsan is standing in a blocking stance. Blood poured heavily onto the ground. The tiger's paw pierced through the master's body. The old man defended his apprentice by putting his own body under the blow. The two warring creatures stood looking at each other. Do you really care for him so much? So dear that you are willing to sacrifice yourself for his good? The tiger asked in surprise. I'm sorry, the master barely uttered. The black tiger raged again and began to demand an answer. Where is the mask? The master looked at the beast and smiled calmly. You are not worthy of a human mask, shouted the master. His body emitted a blue-green glow. He raised his hand up and began to store some kind of energy. Heaven and Earth Mask Dance, Act 2, Hechi Dance, Wave Blossom. The old man strokes the palm of his hand on Tiger's head using the accumulated energy. The power of that energy shook every living thing. A huge bald meadow in what had once been an impenetrable forest. The trees were blown away like straws, some torn to pieces, others ripped out by the roots. And where once the crowns of trees covered the sky, the moon was now clearly visible. Even the lodge where these bonson and master lived was hit by the two of them splitting up. From such an attack, Tiger was sealed into the ground. You have some time, the master said in a weak voice. His legs trembled violently from fatigue. The old man collapsed to the ground in front of his student. Bonsan looked at his master's hair curling in the wind. The boy put his left foot forward and began to rise. With a push, he ran towards the master. He also tries to quickly remove the mask so that it does not get in his way. Unable to hold back his tears, he rushes to his old gray-haired master. Drops of tears break on the dry ground. The boy remembers that fateful moment again. That day, the boy met the master for the first time. It was after a gang of thieves had broken into the village. People noticed the silhouette of a man on the outskirts of the village. The master appeared out of nowhere and suddenly started dancing. The people immersed in an abyss of terror all stared at him. Even his mother was watching the master dance. It seemed very, very strange. Without words or rest, he continued to dance. He came closer and closer until he was in the center of the ruined village. The sun was rising from behind the mountains, and the mother's hand clutching the boy's arm finally weakened and let him go. Her hand fell to the ground. Bonsan looked at his mother. He really wanted to bring her back to life. His mother's last request was that the boy not get caught up in the endless attempts to survive, and tried to learn how to enjoy life. Even as he dies, he has to make people laugh. He sees other people, no matter how sad they are, laughing at the performance of the clown. It would be a better life. His mother was also happily enjoying the last show of her life. The boy was hurt to the core by his mother's last words. They left an imprint on the rest of his life. The sun was rising higher and higher over the mountain ranges. When the master has finished his dance, he walks away from the village. A boy rushes after the dancer and asks him to stop. The old man heard the shout of the young boy and turned around to see who was following him. After catching up with the old man, the boy asks to be his apprentice. He also wants to master the mask dance. Now he sits across from his dying teacher. He reaches out his hands to him but is afraid to touch him. In a sobbing voice, he begs not to be left alone. The master notices a new mask. It looks like a deer mask. That's right. The boy should have studied harder to create something more dignified and powerful to protect the master, but his strength was only enough for the deer mask. The old man put his hand on the boy's head. He tried to reassure his apprentice in some way. "It is a fine mask," said the master, "and it was a fine dance." Hearing those words, the boy sobbed even harder. He'd love to hear the story behind the creation of his mask someday. The master's body staggered. He completely lost all his strength and fell face down to the ground. His azure eyes were still open. He too remembered that day, when a little boy, heartbroken, asked him to teach him the mask dance. And even though he didn't know the whole essence of what he wanted, and thought it was just a hustler's act. After all, in reality, this dance is not like a simple entertainment. And if the boy wants to become a clown, he can join some group. But the boy wouldn't let the old man go and begged him to teach him. The old man even got a little angry, but turned around. He saw the boy kneeling on his knees, asking him to teach him the mask dance. It was quite strange. Was the boy ready to become a clown and live somewhere on the streets for the rest of his life? Bonsan was ready for any challenge. He had nothing left, no home, no family. The old man noticed that the boy was really in a bad way and was ready to do a lot of things. But why does he want to learn the dance so badly? The boy squeezes the old man's robe so hard that his bones start to crunch. He only wants one thing. He wants to shine like a great master. Just once in his life, just for a second. He wants to become someone who dances and makes people laugh. Apparently, from these words, the master decided to take the boy as his apprentice. The master's azure eyes were losing their luster. The old man's gaze was directed straight at the bright dawn. "Stubborn degenerate," the old man said faintly. The boy saw his teacher exhale one last time. Bonsan cried out with bereavement for a long time, while the sun drained the blood and dew on the grass. A whole day had passed, and the sun was slipping below the horizon. The boy ran with all his might, not knowing where he was going. He forgot about pain, sorrow, and regrets. He ran from darkness to light, clutching his first mask in his hands. This story was told by a now grown-up kid to his childhood friend sitting under a tree. He wandered back and forth for a long time and then returned to the village. It's been 5 years, but otherwise it's the same as it was before. He is now 20 years old and has returned to find a human mask. Meanwhile, rumors spread in the village that a huge tiger has appeared in the forest. Some people lock their doors and windows out of fear, while others laugh out loud and think it's fiction. Bonsan sits not far from them and finishes his food. He drinks the yucca straight from a deep plate. Having had a good meal, he decides that now is the time to put on a show. Stepping out in his attire into the central market, the guy notices that there aren't a soul around. Bonsan meets a little boy dressed in a homemade straw armor. He tells the boy that everyone is afraid of falling prey to an ogre tiger. At this hour, many villagers stand before the castle gates and ask the ruler to protect his subjects. The governor of the settlement has been informed of the mood of the people outside the castle. They are all alarmed and demand shelter in the administration. But the governor doesn't want to save his people. It might provoke the tiger to attack the administration building. So he considers a couple of deaths to be no big deal. Everyone scattered except the little boy. Bonsan asked him why he wasn't hiding with the others. The boy said he was not afraid of the tiger and even wanted to personally catch one to become a tiger hunter. If he succeeds in defeating the tiger, he will become a revered hunter, be able to skin the tiger and earn money to treat his mother. The guy was fascinated by the little boy's stories, but he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Wouldn't he rather watch the mask dance and call his friends? But the boy was clearly not up to it. He thinks that he has already grown out of childish games, and how can you even do such things at such a time? Suddenly they heard shouting in the square near the palace. A huge tiger snuck into the village and came as far as the central square in search of prey. Panic ensues, people fleeing in terror. Suddenly, behind the butler's fence, a counselor shouted. He shouted at the top of his voice and pressed the greed of the people. He offers a reward for the skin of a dead tiger. People are divided into two opinions. Some people will not risk their lives for pennies, because the dead do not need money, but others are willing to try to fight. One of those willing was once a porter for the tiger hunters. He assumed that with 10 hands they could handle him, and he indicated with complete certainty that it was a leopard, and it was quite exhausted and badly wounded. But no sooner had they counted to 3 than they were all mauled. It only took the leopard a few seconds to do so. People began to scatter in horror in different directions. While the whole crowd runs and stumbles, a little boy in straw armor watches a leopard eat his fellow villager. This is his chance to catch the tiger. The leopard smells fresh flesh. He directs his gaze in search of prey. The boy's mood immediately changes. The leopard seeks to attack weaker prey. Something incredible happens. Someone pulls him right out from under the predator's clutches. Opening his eyes, the boy sees that he is unharmed and unharmed. Bonsan asks him to watch it very carefully. Now the youngster will see the real mask dance. A crowd of townspeople are shocked. They can't believe their eyes. Some weirdo in a mask decided to play with a leopard. Bonsan sent the boy back to the people and began to untie the bandages on his arms. If all the spectators were here, he would dance here too. The leopard begins to hunt. He promptly jumps on the masked guy. Let's get started. Bonsan, Deer Mask Dance, Act 1. Guy spins the bandages in the air, distracting the leopard, then hits it in the neck with a leg kick. Everyone present is shocked, including the leopard. This clown was able to strike a blow to the unrestrained beast. Bonsan sees the leopard fly into the air from his first strike. The boy jumps up to the beast and spins around as hard as he can. A second leg kick hits the beast in the head. But the guy doesn't just hit the predator. He presses his foot into its head and accelerates its fall speed. The leopard is sealed into the central square like an overripe plum. Bouncing away, the guy leaves only a cloud of dust and beautiful curls of bandages flying behind him like a plume. The audience is in shock. The spectacle was incredible. He was able to defeat the monster that was terrorizing the entire village. The people cheered. The tiger had been caught, and now they had nothing to fear. Bonsan approached the boy and asked if he enjoyed the show. The child couldn't realize if this was the same mask dance Bonsan had told him about earlier. Mask dance is not only a game or entertainment. Mask dancing is something that makes people enjoy life. Looking at these people, the guy was happy too. After all, his job was to make people laugh. At that moment, a black raven flew over the cheering crowd. He saw everything that was going on in the city and flew to his master. Somewhere deep in the forest, a raven perched on a man's toe. Raven seemed to recount everything he had seen to the mysterious hooded figure. It's the same time, but a different location. Somewhere in the forest, a warrior is running and calling for a tiger hunter. A man reports to the hunter that a leopard has been caught. The hunter is surprised by the news. Who could defeat such a beast? Hearing that the leopard had been caught not by a hunter but by an ordinary clown, the man thought for a moment. The tiger hunter was extremely surprised at his warrior's words. Even a clown can catch a tiger. Bongsan recalls his master's words before his death. He asks him to listen carefully, for everything now depends on him. The guy should get as far away from this place as he can. Run before the black tiger wakes up. And find it, the place where the human mask is. After a while, the governor enjoys the trophy he has been given. He asks his aide to send a letter to high-ranking people and report on the settled situation with the leopard. At this very important moment, a guard comes up and says that the man wants an audience with the governor. The man was angry, who dares to interrupt their important conversations. It was the same clown who caught the tiger. Seeing the boy for the first time, the governor could not believe that this boy had really done it. He seemed very suspicious. How had he managed to catch the tiger? Meanwhile, a boy who had been in the front rows was telling everyone about the amazing guy who had defeated a tiger in a few moments. The strange old man didn't believe a word the boy said, though the townspeople agreed with his story. They had seen it for themselves. Also, some people in town began to recognize him. He reminded them of someone. The man assumed it was the same little boy who was putting on performances on the streets of the city for other kids. It's unlikely it's him, since he died about 5 years ago. His body was never found, though. We can assume it's him, but why would he come back after 5 years? 5 gold coins are lying on the floor. That's exactly the reward promised for taking down a predator. The guy was happy to see this amount of money. It was indeed an impressive amount of money for Bonsan. The guy looked at the governor and asked for something instead of money. The man was very surprised that the beggar did not want 5 gold pieces. What then does the young lad want instead of money? The guy asked for the governor's necklace as a reward. The man looked at his chest. He didn't even realize what the guy was talking about at first. After a brief pause, the guards throw the guy outside the palace walls. How could he ask for the governor's personal effects? Bonsan didn't understand why he was thrown out of the castle right away. They could have just said no or something like that. Meanwhile, at the castle, the governor's aide wonders what's so valuable about this necklace. Why the guy gave up money for it. In fact, it was just a piece of wood on a string. The governor received this gift from a high-ranking person. This necklace repels bad luck. They say an old man who lived deep in the mountains disappeared a few years ago. It's like he vanished. And at the same time, they found the wreckage of something never seen before. The monk put them together and said that it was something that belonged to the spirit of the mountains, and then sold it for a lot of money to some fool. It was quite strange that he said it was a mountain spirit, but more likely, it's just a piece of board from an old house. But since it was a gift from a high official, it was a sin not to wear it. Maybe the guy believes in these fairy tales and that's why he wanted it instead of money. After a while, Bonson was sitting outside somewhere looking at something that looked like a puzzle. It was probably his master's mask. Suddenly, the same little boy came up to him, asking about this thing lying at his feet. Bonson told the boy about his master who taught him how to dance with masks. This object was a gift from him. The boy could not read, so he tried to explain the symbols on the object. The pattern that looks like a roof indicates a person. And so far, that's all we've been able to find out and collect. Bonson was telling the boy about the human mask. It was a riddle left to him by his teacher, and he had to solve it. But the boy stopped listening, distracted by a familiar sound. Many soldiers entered the town. The boy was delighted because he was lucky enough to see a real tiger hunter. The man sitting on the horse turned around and looked at Bonson. The guy didn't understand why he deserved such close scrutiny from a tiger hunter. The hunter's army came to the palace. The governor asked what had brought the hunter to this land with an army. A hunter has heard a rumor about a tiger that's been terrorizing the settlement, and he knows he's done for. So he's come to take its hide. The governor was furious. Why should they give skin to those who didn't even lift a finger? But the assistant explained to the gentleman that these hunters had been tracking this tiger for a long time, and now they had every right to claim the pelt. But the problem was that they had promised the pelt to high-ranking people, and now they're going to have to come up with something to stall and weigh in properly. The governor came out to the hunters and suggested that they rest. The skins were still being processed by their masters and the processing could not be interrupted. So there was no hurry. They could relax and drink a little. The hunter heard the suggestion and turned away. He looked at the raven who was sitting on the carriage. The hunter agreed to stay one night. The soldiers would be glad to rest too. The governor asked to go inside while his servants brought the best wine. At that moment, Bonson climbed the fence and watched. He liked their idea of having a good night's rest and a good drink. Apparently, the guy had other plans for their party. As night fell, the governor, who had been drinking heavily, slept like a dead man. As expected, Bonson decided to sneak into the governor's quarters, and while the man was drunk, he would seize the opportunity. The infiltration was successful. The monkey mask does a great job. The guy remembers perfectly well the afternoon the governor threw him out on the street. Now it's Bonson's turn to act. He pulls a small knife from his pocket and makes a sharp sweep of his hand. The thread of the pendant is cut without harming the governor. A piece of the mask falls into Bonson's hands. It is exactly what he came to the master's chamber for. At that moment, behind him stands the very same tiger hunter. Looks like the guy's walking into a trap. The guy notices his opponent at the last moment, but doesn't have time to react properly. Bonson flies into the courtyard of the castle. The hunter appreciated the masked guy's ability to move. He had clearly not been able to defeat the tiger by luck alone, but he doesn't look like the rumored one. He was wearing a deer mask when he fought the tiger. The hunter has heard of the clown's capabilities. Will Bonson be caught now? That same evening, hours before the incident, the governor and the hunter are having a drink in the fresh air. After a few shots of liquor, the governor tries to change the hunter's mind about taking the hide. After all, the governor had promised the hide to the consul, and since he cannot now refuse the consul, requests that the hunter deliver it on behalf of the governor. The hunter listened to him with a nonchalant face. The governor realized that the man was not ready for this conversation. Apparently, he was still quite sober. Offered another drink, they sat like that for a while. Having emptied a dozen bottles of liquor, the governor was no longer watching his tongue. He kept on saying that this pelt was his and should be given to the consul as a gift on behalf of the governor. These conversations bored the hunter, bored with the drunken ramblings of the governor. But the hunter, taking advantage of the man's loose tongue, inquired who was the fellow who had defeated the leopard. And when it came to the clown, the governor called him crazy, because he not only defeated the leopard, but also refused a cash award. In return, the little guy demanded the governor's necklace. How could he think to demand the governor's personal belongings? After saying these words, the drunken man passed out, with the very same necklace dangling from his fingers. The hunter wanted a closer look at the object in question and reached out his hand toward it. As soon as his fingers touched the wood, a strong wind blew and blew out the candle. It was a very strange sign. A ghost appeared behind the hunter's back, claiming to be this particular guy. Here we find ourselves back in the castle courtyard, where the hunter has caught the clown in the hot seat. Bonson tried to explain that the guy had only come for his reward, which was owed to him by the governor. The hunter said he knew the story about the hide or the necklace, but now he was interested in another question. The Scummerock was surprised by the hunter's knowledge, but in any case, the guy got everything he wanted. Once Bonsun decided to leave the palace, the hunter asked the clown to answer a couple questions. The first thing the hunter asked about was masks. After all, he had fought the leopard wearing a deer mask, so why did this mask look nothing like it? Bonsun paused. He explained that a clown must have more than one mask. A certain mask is required for each situation. The tiger hunter attacks the guy with a sharp movement. The Scummerock dodges the attack with a backward bend. After dodging, Bonsun jumped back to a safe distance. He didn't expect the man to unreasonably launch an attack. Turns out the guy isn't so easily caught off guard. The tiger hunter grabs his sword and asks the clown to do the mask dance the same way he did with the leopard. Apparently, the hunter doesn't know anything about clowns. Bonsun, the mask dance. Act 4, the monkey dance. The tiger hunter launched an attack, but none of his punches reached the target as Bonsun's agility was incredible. With his mask down, the clown began to explain that he didn't want to dance without an audience present. If no one was watching, no one would enjoy it. The hunter looked at the guy and was impressed by his movements. Was it really about the mask? The hunter had seen it once before. The guy got as close to the entrance gate as possible and started to open it. He asked the hunter to join the spectacle in the central market if he wanted to watch the mask dance so badly. At that moment, an arrow flew near Bonsun's ear. The arrow was fired by a governor who could barely stand on his feet. He was furious that in the middle of the night, in his city, his bedroom had been destroyed. The governor called in the guards and ordered the capture of all the criminals. The man threatened to finish off everyone involved. First he'll do clown and then he'll do tiger hunter. Bonsun easily dodged every shot, and now he has no choice but to make a quick escape from this mess. As soon as the guy climbed onto the roof, a warrior from the tiger hunter's army was already waiting for him. Another warrior approached the governor and presented his sword to his face. Looking at his guards, the governor was horrified. They were all kneeling with their hands behind their heads. The tiger hunter's warriors had the situation under control. Hunter asked to hear him out. It shouldn't take long. The governor was furious. Not only had the hunter defied the governor's guards, but he was also threatening the governor's very life, which is a war crime. The tiger hunter reminded the governor of the laws of their country, that when it comes to catching tigers, the hunter has the right to go to deal with it even without the king's permission. A hunter doesn't need the governor's permission to question someone who has caught a tiger. The tiger hunter turned to the clown again, asking him not to run away. The entire area is surrounded and patrolled by his men. A man asks the clown to come down. He is interested in watching the clown's dance to the end. Bonsun looked at the man below. Did the guy get trapped? After scratching the back of his head, the guy comes to the conclusion that, in principle, at least some audience has gathered. A guy comes down from the roof and suggests we have a dance. It seemed kind of unfair to use an entire army and have a skimmer dance. Bonsun pretended to agree to his terms, but at the best possible moment, he would immediately run away. At that moment, one of the warriors holds out his sword to the clown. The tiger hunter asks the guy to use the sword to show what he can do. Bonsun takes the sword out of its sheath and examines it. The guy threw out his sword and made the people around him marvel. A sword is not the best tool for a dance that would make people laugh. Therefore, weapons are not necessary for a clown. The hunter's warriors were shocked. Some thought him a fool, while others thought him very brave. The tiger hunter didn't talk him down, let him do as he pleased. The man went on the attack. Bonsun dodged the surprise attack. The guy didn't like his opponent's sneak attack. The tiger hunter tries to get the guy, but he only ends up missing or destroying administrative property. Could it be that this time, too, when the guy was asked to show what he could do, he would only dodge? Hunter keeps his opponent out of range for a moment. Bonsun appears behind the hunter's back and grabs his hands. The guy starts bashing his knees into the hunter's head. The warriors are at a loss. They haven't seen their commander miss a hit. The clown notices that the attack has been successful, and it is time to resort to Plan B. It's a good time to get away. The sprint race is interrupted due to an attack by a tiger hunter. Apparently, the interrogation is clearly not happening the way Bonsun had envisioned. After all, if it's an interrogation, it's necessary for a person to be able to talk about what he's done. But how can he talk when he's dead? The blade reaches its target. Bonsun suffers a wound to the waist area. Hunter swings at clown to knock his head off his shoulders. Bonsun fends off the sword attack with his bare palm. The guy looks like a huge monkey and is ready to slay his opponent with his bare hands. This battle is truly like a martial dance, where each dancer knows his partner's next move. Bonsun reaches Hunter and lands a palm strike, but the man pushes the clown away with his foot. The hunter doesn't stop and asks to be shown more of the mask wearer's capabilities. They fight on equal footing, dealing damage and getting hit with their punches. Both are quite exhausted and crippled. It seems the outcome of this fight is about to happen. Bonsun blocks the hilt of the katana and stays as close to the hunter as possible. With his left hand, Bonson punches the tiger hunter in the chin. I think I heard him snap his teeth. How much emotion was portrayed on the faces of the eyewitnesses. It seemed like something unbelievable. Suddenly, a mysterious blue aura enveloped the hunter's neck. The man smiled evilly. The clown was able to pass his test. Now a tiger hunter wants him as a trophy. Bonson is puzzled. He doesn't even notice the hunter stabbing him. Half of the monkey mask lies on the ground with sweat dripping from Bonson's face. A scarred guy observes a monstrous scene. How could he possibly be in this situation? The clown sees the tiger hunter approaching him to finish what he started. His sword glows with a blue aura. The governor looks at what's going on and can't understand what they're even doing. Is the guy just going to get killed now? The governor grabbed the arrow again and fired it at the guy. He wanted to finish him off. The hunter stopped the arrow with his sword a few inches from the clown's face. The man asked the governor not to interfere. But the governor did not like it. The guy is a criminal and demands punishment because he committed an act of vandalism and theft on his property. But no one claimed the governor's vote. It's just that the guy now has unfinished business. A clown can join the ranks of the tiger hunters, and the hunters accept any able-bodied person who can help with the hunt, despite his past deeds. The man offered two scenarios. Either he remains a thief and is tried according to the local rules, or he joins the hunters and is one of the soldiers in the army. Simply put, either he would die now as a thief, or he would die in a battle with a tiger. I can't believe a guy would fall for that kind of provocation. Now he doesn't have a lot of options. The guy didn't think much of it. He agrees to the hunter's terms and asks to be spared. The next morning, an army of hunters gathers for their trek. Bonson was on that list. He had already received a uniform in which he was not comfortable at all. The counselor was confused. The uninvited guests had destroyed some rooms, put up a fight, stolen a necklace, and now they were just leaving. But to the governor, the deal seemed very lucrative. They would keep the precious leopard skin in exchange for the life of a guy they would never see again. The governor couldn't even think of a tiger hunter offering such a deal. Bonson ran up to the hunter and asked him to stay another day, but the expedition was starting immediately. When the hunters left the palace walls, a huge crowd of gawkers watched them. It seemed like a good time for the dance of the masks. Suddenly, the guy noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was the same aunt who chased the boy through the streets of the town. She was surprised to see him. The boy was glad to meet her too. He wondered where his childhood friend was now. Auntie said that she didn't know where the girl was, because she had left the village a couple years after Bonson's disappearance. The only thing we know is that she went in search of Yoren grass. Abruptly, the hunter boy came out of the crowd. He was so shocked when he saw the hunter's uniform on his friend's body. This was a real betrayal for the boy, for it was his dream to become a tiger hunter. Bonson reassured the boy and said that it had been an accident. He wished the young hunter to practice and wait for their next meeting. And so after some time they set out on an expedition, and the guy didn't even have time to take care of business in town. But now he knows he has to find Yoren Weed too. Meanwhile, somewhere in the woods beneath a huge mountain, deep in a cave, a mutilated man sits and tells everything he's seen and heard about the guy in the animal mask. After his report, a black beast paw tore the man's head apart. The whole process is watched by a huge tiger pack. The black tiger of the four winds speaks of the beginning of the great hunt. The squad moves into the thick of the forest. A halt was called, and Bonson crouched under the nearest tree. What a gamble he had agreed to. But no sooner had he rested than he was handed another warrior's knapsack. The fact is that the warrior who gave him his knapsack will now carry the palanquin. The rest was over so quickly that Bonson didn't even have time to stretch. The armor he was wearing was not suited to his fighting style and was too stiff to move. How could he even survive with this kind of armor? It is a strange formation of the troop, some riding on horseback, some being carried on their hands, and the rest traveling on foot, carrying the whole load on their backs. But the hunters have to earn a lot of money, and they should be able to afford a horse each. But the biggest mystery remains who is in the creepy black palanquin. Suddenly another warrior approached Bonson. It was the same rooftop soldier who had apprehended Bonson during his escape. Bonson met Han Yu and shook his hand. Han Yu welcomed the newcomer to the squad. Now they could rely on each other. The soldier asked Bonson why he risked his life for the governor's necklace. Before leaving town, he had a similar conversation with young guy. Why so much work done and dangerous work? The guy didn't really want to tell the true value of the thing. But Yonga insisted, and he has leverage over the guy. After all, if he doesn't tell, it's quite likely that the whole mission he's done will be a complete failure. Bonson made no secret of the fact that this was his legacy from the master who taught him. Yonga also heard that the guy has more parts from that mask. The guy explained that it wasn't really a mask. It was more like a map. Bonson wasn't silent either. He was curious about the previous night. Specifically, that strange blue flame coming from the hunter's sword. But in response, Yonga simply remained silent. Back in the present, Bonson wonders what the head tiger hunter is made of. Mr. Young is a very tough man. He is a master swordsman, and his physical strength is many levels higher than the soldiers in his army. He is called the true tiger hunter for a reason. Bonson has nothing to worry about. He's not a bad person. But if he is so good, why is he the only one traveling on horseback? Bonson asked. The thing is, when a tiger hunts, it targets a horse first, so Mr. Yonga always takes the biggest risk. He's the first to be targeted by the predators. Soldiers can also travel on horseback, but that's for emergencies. Yonga is very serious about hunting, sometimes even frighteningly serious. They say the master is looking for a special tiger. He doesn't talk about it, but it's probably about the black tiger of the four winds, the same tiger that broke into the palace 10 years ago. Bonson was surprised by this information. What could have happened between them? Suddenly a black raven perched on Bonson's helmet, and did his crow business right on the guy's head. How nervous the lad became, he was ready to roast the bird at the nearest resting place. Han Yu tried to cool the guy down. It's all about the fact that these crows are bred by the squad leader. Bongsan thought it was Mr. Young at first, but he was wrong, because Young is only the deputy leader of the squad. Bongsan was sure that Young Ga was the leader. But if not Young Ga, then who? Then suddenly the command to stop was given. The squad halted and black crows flew around. All the crows flew to the palanquin. Mr. Yonga looked at the birds and gave the command to lower the palanquin. Yonga rushed over. He wants to know what's urgent with the squad leader. The hunter went to the palanquin and gave his hand. A small girl came out of it. Zhao, crow squad leader. The girl pointed her finger in the direction and said there was a tiger there. Deputy Leader Yang asked everyone to be on alert, prepare their weapons and follow him. The warriors ran after Zhao and Yongai, but Bonson didn't understand how they could be so sure that that was where the tiger was now. Han Yu asked him to wait for a while and follow them. It wouldn't be long before he would see everything with his own eyes. Zhao wasn't just the leader of the crow squad. She was something like a shaman. It hides the spirit of the raven god. A moment later, everyone was near some village. Eye contact with the predator is established. Yonga orders everyone to prepare for battle. A small village has been attacked by a big, strong tiger. Many bloody bodies lie in the street. Bonson was pleasantly surprised by the Zhao leader's capabilities. Yonga rushed over and asked the leader to wait a bit while they finished. Tiger Hunter gave the command to use formation number 3. While all the warriors ran for position, Bonson didn't know what to do, for he didn't know the commands and formations yet. Han Yu explained that the warriors of the squad do not interfere in close combat, and formation number 3 is needed to surround the tiger and try to delay it with arrows. Not a single arrow hit the target. The tiger reflected them all. And while the archers force the tiger to hold its ground, the main tiger hunter bursts into the battle. Tiger dodges Yong's attack and bounces back. The predator senses the enemy's dominance and retreats deeper into the village. The hunter begins his pursuit and the warriors regroup again and take position number 5. Bonson misses all the fun again and tries to figure out what he needs to do. The guy's thinking about running away, but that's when Zhao says running away isn't an option. The guy didn't expect the squad leader to be able to read minds. How else could she figure out what he was thinking? The girl said she can't read minds but just sees everything by the look on the guy's face. Bonson notices the woman on the ground trying to cough. He runs up to her and asks how she's feeling. The guy tries to call the squad doctor, if of course they have a doctor. At this time, Yonga catches up with the tiger and tries to finish it off. The archers from the squad also took advantageous positions and were able to wound the tiger. Bonson appears abruptly and says that there are about 30 other survivors. They ran away with the village doctor. She took them out of the village into the forest. Yonga informs them that the first thing they must do is to defeat the tiger, and only then go in search of the escapees. At this point, the tiger decides to take advantage of the hunter being distracted by his soldier and tries to paw the hunter. Bonson saves the hunter from being hit by knocking the predator's paw away. But that's not all Bonson had to say. A group of these 30 people are also in danger. They are also being chased by another tiger. Guy asks the hunter to finish with this tiger, and after catching up with it, Bonson will run forward and try to apprehend the second tiger. Yonga doubts the boy's abilities and asks him not to take too many risks. It is unlikely that the boy will be able to overpower a healthy and well-fed tiger. It won't be like the leopard. The guy was stubborn. He couldn't let the villagers die just because someone doubted him. Yonga sent one of his soldiers along with the lad to help. Han Yu offered the sword to the guy again, but the guy refused again. Like he said, sword dancing was none of his business. Bonson put on his mask and ran forward. He asked his partner to catch up with him slowly. The guy was rushing as fast as he could, for the woman had asked to save her children. There was no help for her, and her 2 children were very young, so there was a good chance that they would be separated from the group. Bonson has to protect her children in time, and at that moment the tiger had already spotted them. The girl stumbles and falls to the ground. At that second, the tiger pounces on the little girl. You could already see the shadow of claws covering her body. The guy notices a bright yellow glow behind the tiger, and in an instant the children disappeared from the tiger's gaze. Bonsan managed to pick up the children at the last moment and run away with them. Bonsan recalled moments of his childhood when he tried to catch a deer, but unfortunately he never made it because he was too slow. The kids were happy, and the guy came to the conclusion that the deer was faster than the tiger after all. As a kid, he promised he'd be much faster someday. Like how at that moment, he miraculously managed to grab the children and run away from the tiger. After running some more distance, the guy stopped to catch his breath. He was able to catch up with the kids and save them. Also, the guy didn't forget about working with the audience. But the kids were quite frightened and asked where this guy even came from. While he was trying to calm the children, Bonsan heard a voice behind his back. The tiger ran at their heels, and very soon he was able to catch up with them. He had not seen this fellow in the village before, and Bonsan was more concerned that the tiger could talk. It didn't scare the guy, but it reminded him of events from long ago. While the tiger, on the contrary, was impressed. He had never seen such a fast man before. If the tiger was scared, he could run away and not make trouble for himself. The guy decided that his bluff could make things easier. But the truth is, Bonsan is really exhausted from running around. The most important thing is to get the children away from the rest of the group of adults if they have to fight. But the children don't know where the adults are. They just disappeared. While Bonsan was talking to the children, the tiger got tired of waiting and rushed to attack. The guy managed to grab the kids again and dodge the tiger's attack. It was strange that a tiger would attack stealthily like a rat. The tiger thought about it. He realized that the guy was the scamp who had defeated the leopard. The predator carefully assesses the situation because he doesn't want to get into a fight with someone he might lose to. He figured out a way around the sacrifice and offered a deal. Their lives, in exchange for the bag the child is holding. It's a pretty good deal, because there's nothing in there but rice cakes. Bonsan took the bag and brought it halfway up to the tiger. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Were these pies so delicious that the tiger is ready to just walk away with this package? The guy decides to try one pie. He took it out of the bag and examined it carefully. At this point, there is someone watching from the trees. The unidentified men were perplexed. The guy tries to negotiate with the tiger by offering it a bag of food. But no sooner does the tiger pick up the package than Bonsan attacks the tiger with his foot right in the muzzle. Tiger is shocked. He doesn't understand why the clown started attacking. The guy asked to renegotiate the deal. Not only were the rice cakes in this package, but also the molds to create them. But what was most interesting was that one shape was different from all of them. And it was the rice cake with this image that Bonsan got. It had a pattern on it from a piece of the mask the guy was putting together. It seemed very strange why a tiger would want this piece. It was most likely the black tiger of the four winds that sent it after them. It turned out to be true. The tiger didn't realize the guy would figure him out so quickly. Well, now that the guy has figured it all out, there's no point in the tiger stalling now, and he rushes to attack. The observers are confused as to what happened. After all, they were just about to make a transaction. Why the fight started. The unknown men begin to confer quickly. They think how they should act in this situation, because they could save the children. That same traveling doctor offers a plan by which they can help them. The guy turns to the children and asks them not to worry. He will have to fight the tiger after all. The guy leaves the children aside and rushes to the predator for a fight. He has to get the tiger away from the children. The guy attacks the tiger, but the predator has a cunning plan. Why fight the clown when you can take the kids he cares about? This is the perfect plan for the tiger, and he has no other choice. He opens his mouth, and tongues of blue flame erupt from it, just like the ones Bonsan had seen from the tiger hunter Yong. The tiger leaves the guy in the distance, and himself tends to the defenseless children at an incredible speed. The guy can't stop him. His leg muscles are very tight after so much running. Suddenly an arrow appears in his path. An arrow goes through the tiger's nose. Bonsan and the children did not expect this. They look around to see where the shot came from. At the same moment, one end of a long rope falls from the treetops. Bonsan sensed that something was wrong here. The adults couldn't just disappear. All this time they sat in the trees and watched. In the meantime, Han Yu had arrived at the place. He noticed the children standing near the tiger with a rope hanging above them. The traveling doctor asks the children to hurry up and climb up the rope. To keep the tiger from disturbing them, the doctor tries to shackle his paws to the ground with arrows. The children need to hurry up and not worry about the tiger. Han Yu assessed the situation. He noticed that the villagers had climbed trees to hide from the tiger. The man is trying to think of a workable plan. Tiger sees the children begin to climb the rope. He gets up, breaking the arrows that restrain him. The traveling doctor loads another arrow and aims it at the tiger. A mysterious blue hand comes out of the predator's mouth. A ghostly hand breaks apart a flying arrow. The villagers watch in horror. The predator looks at the children and asks them to just give him the bag of rice cakes. He has no need to kill them. The children try to climb faster and ignore the tiger's words. Noticing this, the tiger jumps after the children again, at which point Bonsan is already close to the predator. Guy stops the tiger. With a strong kick of his foot, he hits it in the head. Bonsan presses the tiger into the ground, allowing the children to climb further to the top. The tiger quickly gets to his paws and his body is enveloped in blue ghostly flames. The guy notices that the tiger takes almost no damage. Does his blue flames have the ability to absorb damage? Meanwhile, Yanga decapitated the first tiger. He orders the units to follow the second tiger. They don't have a lot of time because these are unusual tigers. At that moment, the tiger was able to grab the guy's neck with a blue hand. The raptor was ready to devour its prey, but a flying arrow cut off the blue flame's energy. Bonsan dodges at the very last moment. Looking at the tiger, the guy can't understand how the blue flame works. The strength and speed of this predator has increased several times. The deer's speed is no longer needed here, and the guy decides to use the boar mask. But when he sticks out his hand to take it, he realizes that he is not wearing his clothes, and therefore has no masks with him. After thinking for a bit, the guy just stands up and puts his hands in the air. He asks for a little break. Meanwhile, Yanga, along with one of his soldiers, rushes on horseback to the clown's aid. The tiger didn't stop and continues to try and take the guy down. Why doesn't the predator stop attacking? The guy's surrendered. But the tiger is not satisfied with this arrangement, because originally the tiger asked just to give him rice cakes. The traveling doctor notices another soldier sitting nearby, waiting for the right moment. She decides to create that opportune moment and aims at the tiger again. Her shot hits right in the bullseye and robs the tiger of one eye. Bonsan notices Han Yu as well. The soldier asks to lure the tiger closer to him. As long as the predator put the arrow away and resented it, he was an easy target. That was what Bonsan took advantage of. He struck with tremendous force to push the beast closer to Han Yu. The tiger flew away just the right distance, and when he began to approach, he didn't even notice that he was standing in a loop of rope with one paw. At this point, the trap begins to trigger and the noose clamps down on the beast's paw. Although Han Yu doesn't have outstanding military skills, he is the best in the squad who knows how to handle traps. And with his help, the tiger was tied up and hung from a tree. It took longer than expected, but the beast was caught. After a little shaking, the tiger came to his senses. He looked at the insolent man who dared to catch him. The tiger thought it was funny. The man thought he could catch a tiger with rotten ropes? Releasing its claws, the beast cut the ropes in an instant and pounced on the soldier with all its fury. A small rabbit entangled in a rope lies unconscious. This guy the same Han Yu? He comes home and talks about having rabbit for dinner. His sister would really like to try the pheasant he caught earlier, but the guy had already sold it at the market. Her brother is raising money for her sister's wedding so she can feel on par with other people having parents and an inheritance. So some of the loot has to be sold. But suddenly their conversations were interrupted by a man entering their house without knocking. He was a tiger hunter looking for someone who's a master at setting traps, and people told him to come here. That's how he met Han Yu. Back in the present, a horrible picture emerges. The tiger had torn apart the trap master's body. Out of his last strength, the guy calls out to his new friend. He asks for his help, but the tiger is too close and is already swinging to finish what he started. Bonsan looks on in horror at what is happening. How could they ever think of trying to catch a tiger with just a rope? The beast is very angry and now wants to deal with whoever robbed him of one eye. At the same moment, he appears next to the traveling doctor and pulls his blue paws toward her. The clown miraculously manages to knock down the tiger and interrupt its attack. While Bonsan distracts the tiger, the children have managed to climb up to the adults. Now they must climb even higher and head west. Drawing the arrow, the girl expects to completely blind the tiger to prevent it from chasing them. She shoots, but the blue hands break the arrow again on its approach to the tiger. The girl also notices that the tiger is completely blocking the skimmer's movement. Even in the least favorable position, the guy wonders what the blue stuff is enveloping the tiger's body. This may not be the best moment, but there may not be another chance. While the tiger was threatening to destroy everyone around him, he didn't notice the tiger hunter coming at him at full speed. Yanga cuts off the tiger's paw with his sword. It's a good time for Bonsan to sneak out. Just as Yanga thought it would happen, Bonsan is not yet ready for a real tiger hunt. Blue flames envelop the spot where the paw used to be. Tiger Hunter wonders where the new soldier is, where Han Yu is. Bonsan tries to say something. At this point, the tiger slips into the conversation without letting Bonsan finish his sentence. The blue flame formed a ghostly paw for the tiger. The tiger rushes to attack and confesses that he killed that soldier. Yanga blocks the flow of blue flames with his sword. The beast doesn't understand how a human is able to block such an attack. A hunter notices the body of a new recruit. Young was too late. He couldn't protect everyone. Hunter activates his blue flame and swings to strike. Bonsan notices the blue hands again, but only already on Young's arms. The beast sees the impending attack and tries to get a safe distance away, but somehow the attack still catches up with it. No matter how much he tried to block his opponent's attack with blue flame today, he was still able to break through the defense. Was he definitely an ordinary man? The beast realizes his business is bad and tries to just run away. The tiger notices that the hunter has turned his gaze to the side as if expecting something. And at that moment, a huge arrow hits the tiger in the second eye. Donsu, with a huge crossbow, is a long distance away from the battle. He is the best sniper in the hunting team. Blue tries to pull out an arrow, but it doesn't work. The tiger has completely lost his sight. He can see absolutely nothing. Tigger begs to pull the arrow out of his eye and promises not to eat anyone. And at that moment, Yonga comes very close to him. So it's time for the tiger to lose both eyes. As soon as the beast heard the hunter's voice, it became very nervous. It forgot why it was running away and from whom. He pivoted backward until his back was against a tree. The beast heard footsteps approaching him. Tiger asked him to listen. Killing his soldier was a huge mistake. He was just acting on instructions. There was an order to get the rice cakes. He didn't want to hurt anyone. But the clown and the archer who took away his eye made the beast angry, and the guy with the ropes got caught in the act. The tiger continued to say that his soldier's death was accidental. But now, for the recruit's death, the beast would pay with his blood. Yonga swung his sword. The blow was so fast and strong that not even a single leaf fell from the tree. The tree trunk was cut through and it moved out like a piece of butter. A fountain of blood spurted from the carcass of the slain beast. Sometime later, in the affected village, while the shaman performs the ritual with the heads of tigers, the villagers escort the souls of their loved ones to their final journey. The 13th dance is Hosikchong, Tiger's grave mound. Bonsan sits not far from the shaman and tries to carve a copy of the rice cake pattern out of wood, the very piece of the mask he's trying to put back together. Also, the guy asked why they do purification rituals if they are only tiger hunters. Wiping his sword, Yonga explained that people killed by a tiger become embittered souls. Then the tiger uses these souls for its own purposes, but the rituals work, and the souls of the dead are appeased. Evil spirits, is it really the same blue flame that enveloped the tiger? But Hunter Yonga uses it too. Bonsan again tried to get the tiger hunter to talk. But the man changed the subject of conversation. He advised the lad to go to a healer and have his leg and back looked at. The places that evil spirits grab at are very slow to heal. Bonsan decided to take the advice and came to the traveling doctor. The guy looked at the bow and arrows in surprise. It was very strange, after all. Not only was she good at archery, but she was actually practicing medicine. And then there's that weird bandage on her face. Bonsan stared at the girl for too long. She noticed his gaze and reassured him by saying that her face was not scarred. She just wants to remain incognito. The medical procedures have been completed. Wiping her hands, the girl said she hadn't seen a mask dance in a long time. At that moment, a strong wind tore the mask off the face of the wandering doctor. The guy could see her face and was surprised, for it was the same Miss Yuwa. Meanwhile, the families of the victims mourned their loved ones. Yonga looked at them, then took the bottle of sake and poured it into a bowl. He set it down next to a pile of rocks. The tiger hunter recalled a moment that was just a short time ago. As his team sat around the campfire and relaxed in the late afternoon, Han Yu was happy that his sister was getting married. He doesn't have to worry about her now that she has a family of her own. Working as a tiger hunter, he was able to save enough money for his sister. Now he doesn't need to risk his life and can return to his daily routine. Yonga listened intently to these conversations and waited for an answer. Han Yu was pleased to hear the concern of those around him, but smiling with a full mouth, he replied that from now on, the hunter squad was his family. The squad members were surprised by this response. After such speeches, the whole team was encouraged. They were delighted with this response. Remembering these events, Yonga did what he had to do that night. He clinked the pitcher and drank the sake, honoring his memory. Let's go back to Bonsan and Miss Yuwa. The guy was happy to meet a childhood friend. She couldn't believe that a street kid she hadn't seen in over 5 years was sitting right in front of her. They didn't even have time to ask how each other were doing, and at that moment, a tiger hunter approached them. Yonga was impressed with the girl who was able to evacuate part of the village. He also liked the girl's skill with the bow and arrow. Hunter came to the conclusion that such a brave and skillful doctor could be part of their team, but the girl refused, for she did not want to become another dead tiger hunter. After all, she saw how one of his squad died in an instant. In that case, Yonga asked for medical help for the other injured people. The girl stood up from the porch and wondered where there were still others who needed help. She didn't even say goodbye to Bonsan and pretended they didn't know each other at all. The tiger hunt was over. The purification ritual has also come to an end. The survivors set to work rebuilding the village, and everyone took their own path, onward to new endeavors. After a few days of traveling, a troop of hunters arrived at a certain place. The hunters returned to their permanent location. Bonsan was surprised at this scale. It was a very huge area. The guy was glad to be able to sleep properly for the first time in a long time. But it seems his plans were not destined to come true. A large number of people were watching the new member of the squad intently. A strange situation unfolded around Bonsan. What made Young doubt the guy this time? Yanga took out a handkerchief containing pieces of the broken mask. Bonsan was dumbfounded by the tiger hunter's action. What right did he have to pry into other people's things? One observer asked the guy to keep his emotions in check and show respect. All of these people are tiger hunters. Yanga explained that the piece he got in a very hard way from the governor has the energy of a black tiger in it. Bonsan was surprised that the tiger hunter could sense such energy. But those present were interested in one question: how the mask he collects and the black tiger are related. The guy remembers the moment when the teacher handed him the first piece of the split mask. He called it a map showing the location of the human mask. Yanga accepted this information completely calmly. It was the same information Bonsan had told the hunter in his village, but the guy hid the fact that this map should lead to the human mask. Wild Dog Squad leader Gu Bonghua was interested in how much the item might be worth. At this point, heated discussions began around the connection between the human mask and the black tiger. Bonsan knew the tiger's true purpose. He needs a mask to become king. The hunters did not expect this turn of events. The deputy leader of Wild Dog asked Bonsan if he was sure of what he was saying. Bonsan remembers every word of that fateful day. To some, these words were incongruous and taken as a joke. Others saw this situation as very real, based on his past actions and attempts to attack the castle. But why did the guy single-handedly collect these pieces for 5 years without telling anyone? Bonsan explained that he had just started collecting these pieces, and up until that point, he had been learning the mask dance, and didn't know when he would meet the black tiger again. Yo Ran noticed the discrepancy in the guy's stories. After all, if his master had died 5 years ago, who had been training him all this time? The leader of the Python squad, Jin Yanwu, intervened in the discussion and suggested that we end it there. He felt that Bonsan was just an ordinary clown who made up stories to make money, and there was no need to waste his time on him. While the guy refutes Hunter Jin Youngwoo's words and says that they're not made-up stories, the Owl Squad leader looks into his eyes. Chil Yi is completely sure that the guy isn't lying, and everything he said is true. Bayek Sun, the Hawk Squad leader, suggested that this situation should not be prolonged, and that the pieces of the assembled mask should be destroyed. He doesn't want to allow the possibility of a tiger getting a human mask in its clutches. And if the clown's words are just a fairy tale, it's no big deal if they destroy the wooden pieces of the mask. They all agreed that they should destroy the remains of the mask. Only Yanga was against it, because it was possible to find a human mask and use it to bait the black tiger. The conversation didn't stop for a minute. Some agreed with destroying the pieces. Others agreed to take a risk and find the mask on their own. Opinions were divided, and there was no point in keeping the guy any longer. As Mr. Baek Sung said, the mask is no longer Bongsan's concern. The tiger hunters will take care of that now. The guy was released and led out of the meeting room. Bonsan was adamant about destroying pieces of the map, but no one cared. The soldiers of his squad, who were passing by, saw Bonsan breaking through the closed doors. They called out to him and asked him to help with the work. Crossbowman Nadongsu was outraged that the guy was refusing to help. It's worth remembering that Donsu carries a huge crossbow with him on his hunts, and his crossbow weighs 90 pounds. He lifted Bonsan by the hair with one left hand, making him regret refusing to help. Meanwhile, Song and Young follow the leader to the main headquarters. Since opinions are divided on the mask fragments, the leader must have the last word. He will decide the future fate of the map and the human mask. While the hunters demand an audience with the leader, Bonsan is already helping his squad, though he's well aware that he doesn't have time for that sort of thing. Bonsan remembered a moment that had happened to him 5 years ago when a stranger had treated him to a meal. At that point, he had been starving for 15 days. Before that, the guy had only eaten wild vegetables and mushrooms. The stranger wondered how he had survived for such a long time. The man asked if it was true that the old spirit of the mountains had died, and if he had never told anything about him. The man asked the name of the young apprentice of the mountain spirit, and offered him a very interesting case. How about a bet? At this moment, the leader hosted Yang and Song. The leader was surprised to see these two together, for they had always been rivals. What dilemma could have caused the two of them to come to the leader? So, how about a bet? This dispute was between the stranger and the spirit of the mountains. But as the latter had died a short time before, the man suggested that his apprentice should continue the master's work. A stranger offers the guy a competition to find a human mask. If the guy finds it first, the man promises to grant him a wish. But if he loses, then... At this point, the guy woke up in his bed. Mornings at the Hunter Center start very early and right away with physical training. Bonsan didn't care about the muscle pain from yesterday's work. He was only interested in what had been done with the map fragments. Yonga-san is silent, and that's a good sign, but what about the other hunter? At this moment, Hunter Sung and Hunter Bonghua are practicing at the shooting range. The wild dog leader inquires about Seon's father's health. Manhwa had heard that Sona's father not only deals in tiger skins, but also tries to tame tigers into his service. This is a very labor-intensive process, and most importantly, you have to start at a very young age of the tiger. Manhwa feels it is his duty to deliver one tiger cub into the hands of Sun's father. Mr. Song has listened to Manhwa and is ready to give the gift, but he wants to see it first. 15th Dance, the Tiger Cub. Upon opening the box, the hunters discovered that the tiger cub was dead. When Manhwa saw this picture, he was furious. He remembered that the tiger cub was alive and well. Based on the wounds on the tiger cub's body, we can say with certainty that it was killed. But who would have done it? The first on the list of suspects was Yonga, but the hunter didn't know what he was talking about. Manhwa didn't believe him because he always does. The last time it was him too. Youngja isn't interested in Manhwa's business, and the last time it was just a precaution. After all, the last time the tiger cub escaped from his care. If that's all, Young asked, not to be distracted from his training. Manhwa grabbed Young's hand. He didn't like his tone of speech. The man began demanding monetary damages. Manhwa may not be very knowledgeable in some matters, but he has a great eye for money. Doesn't Manhwa lack the salary of a tiger hunter? The wild dog leader knows exactly how much he gets and how much he spends. There's always room for a decent splurge. And no sooner had the man finished talking about Young's sick mother than suddenly a fist flies into his face. The soldiers noticed how things were heating up. Looks like it's definitely going to come to a fight now. Manhwa took out his staff and summoned a blue flame. The leader of the wild dog squad rushes in to attack. Yonga blocks the attack with a forearm, but the force of the blow practically knocks him off his feet. Manhwa asks Yong to feel free to summon his evil spirits, or he might not be so lucky next time. But Yonga doesn't listen to him, and rushes into the fight with bare fists. Suddenly, the leaders and deputies of the other squads intervened in their fight. Mr. Sung was in a bad mood about their concert, to say the least. He asked everyone to calm down, and then he wouldn't tell his father anything. But he was more displeased with Yonga, for he had put up a fight in front of the whole army. After a while, Bonsan gathers himself back into formation, and there's no way he's catching on to what's going on here. After all, Yonga said that tigers use evil spirits, but why do tiger hunters also use their powers? At this moment, one of the soldiers came to hurry the guy up, as almost everyone had already gathered in the main square. Bonsan got dressed and joined the other soldiers in the formation. Baek Sejong came out to the warriors and greeted them. So, today's challenge is to select new tiger hunters. The only condition for becoming a hunter is always the same: the ability to stand one-on-one against a tiger. And to stand up to a tiger, you need to be able to summon evil spirits. Those who die from the tiger's clutches cannot find peace after death. They drag others down with them to the other side of the world, and become evil spirits. Perhaps the warriors had already seen evil spirits when they hunted tigers. With the help of evil spirits, tigers become stronger. As they may have noticed, the evil spirit is both the spear and the tiger's shiat. However, if you seal an unsettled soul before it becomes an evil spirit, you can empower weapons with its power. This is the kind of weapon used by tiger hunters. They call a sword possessed by a spirit the possessed sword. It doesn't matter what's in front of the hunter. Skin tougher than tiger skin or bones stronger than steel. Baek Sung makes a swinging sword strike. The force of the blow is incredible, the torrent of wind almost tearing the faces off the soldiers standing in front of him. This kind of thing pierces absolutely everything. The soldiers turn around in horror at the sound of falling shingles. And best of all, it doesn't matter what you want to choose. Sword, bow and arrow, spear, club, anything will do. So Baek Sun offers a willing step forward to those who want to try and discover the true tiger hunter in themselves. No one, absolute silence, stands in the square. No one wants to try their hand at it. Bonsan also decides not to be a hero and just wait for the meeting to end. The silence makes the guy think of past moments, when he was almost killed by a tiger, or when Yonga doubted the guy's capabilities. But the worst memory is when he couldn't help his friend Han Yu. Not only scenes of weakness arose in Bonsan's mind. Also, the guy remembered the conversations about the teacher's mask fragments. After all, his vote was not counted because of his position as a common clown soldier. Maybe this is the one opportunity to establish himself to be reckoned with. Some time passed, and Baek Sung was clearly in a bad mood. There were only 3 volunteers standing in front of him. Not very many soldiers go out to do exploits. The first to try was a soldier from the Wild Dog unit. He was very serious and prepared an opening speech. Mr. Song decided to end the idle talk as soon as possible, and asked to see the sword that the man was carrying. He put the first seal of the evil ghost on the sword. Meanwhile, Yonga is practicing with a wooden sword on dummies. The man heard the leader address him. Yonga has been practicing with the mannequins for a long time. Shouldn't you be resting on such a hot day? Before Yonga could reply that he felt perfectly fine, the leader took his stick and attacked the man. The sword dance has to be performed by 2 people, and just standing around punching dummies doesn't make much sense. Back to our volunteers again. So the seal is on the hilt of the sword, but nothing happens. Baek Sung declares a soldier from the Wild Dog squad eliminated. Mr. Song asked if there was anyone close to the soldier he lost. It's very important. Evil spirits live in hollows. The souls of those who did not die of their own accord dwell deep in soul wounds. To become a tiger hunter, it is not enough to be only strong. Next in line is a member of the Python team. Looking at the next challenger, Mr. Song agreed that it would be easier for him to summon the spirits. But it's not just that. There's not enough to summon the spirit. The spirit latched onto the soldier's neck and began to choke him. Seeing that the soldier was failing, Baek broke the spirit seal from the soldier's sword and released his soul. Evil spirits attack people. It's their nature. If you can't subdue their anger, they will consume you. Meanwhile, the fight between Yong and the leader continues on the training ground with dummies. The man with the blindfold was teasing Yonga in every way possible. The tiger hunter began to attack more diligently. Yonga inquired where the leader had returned from. The leader rebuked Yong for his talk at an unnecessary time. The tiger hunter heard that a palace maid was shot. The leader asked the hunter how he had slept. His Majesty had had another terrible dream involving a black tiger. At the mere mention of the black tiger, Young loses his temper. He promises to catch it soon. The leader asked if it was true that Yonga had taken in a new recruit who wore masks. The hunter confirmed this information. Do they really know each other? He is a clown who wears a deer and monkey mask. So the latest contender for Tiger Hunter. Bong-san held out a mask to apply the ghost seal. Baek was extremely surprised at this armament. Smiling, Mr. Song agreed and presented the seal to the mask. Bon-san decided to waste no time and asked what happened to the mask fragments. Baek-san reported that the fraction of fragments will be determined by the leader, but for now, they are intact. Bon-san really hopes that if he can get the status of a tiger hunter, he can protect the mask fragments from destruction. After all, they said themselves that the fate of the mask would be decided by the tiger hunters. Well, let's get started. Baek-sung attached the spirit seal to the mask. Mr. Baek-sung warned that even if the guy manages to withstand the spirit, he won't be given the right to vote right away. But Baek-seong is willing to take Bong-san's side if he can really withstand the test. It was a really good offer. Bong-san hopes that Mr. Song will keep his promise. The clown wears a mask emitting blue flames. Wary ears, lightning like horns, eyes open in fear. A deer mask is a cowardly soul. An animal that is used to running away, although its horns and hooves are strong. An excellent weapon. The deer is quite cowardly. No one else so accurately anticipates the danger posed by a hunter. Bong-san successfully dodged the arrow. Baek-sung started shooting his bow to make Bong-san release the evil spirit. The clown was shocked by such actions of a tiger hunter. For now, Baek-seong only sees a smoldering ember. We need to awaken the spirits and rekindle the true flame. Bon-san must try his best to get Mr. Song's support and keep the mask from being destroyed. Go ahead, awaken the evil spirits and attack. Will the deer be able to overpower the hunter? Bon-san dodges another shot to the body. Every shot by Baek-seong is thoughtful. He tries to guess Bong-san's next move and is proactive. The guy should not stick to the plan and move as chaotically as possible. Another arrow passes as close as possible near Bon-san's neck. It even managed to hit him. You have to let go of all thoughts and follow your instincts. Bon-san has started moving quite unpredictably, and it's kind of even helping. Looking at the quiver, Baek-sung became nervous. He had wasted arrows and the desired effect had not been achieved. Another plan should be initiated. While Bong-san is showing the mask dance, he is once again called out by Mr. Song. Baek-sung asks a guy to remember his pain. The worst moment of his life is where the evil spirit takes up residence. The guy thought about Song-san's words. He tries to remember the strongest moments that will make him let the evil spirit in. And he recalled one such memory of holding his dying mother in his arms. He remembers the conversation of the bandits who killed her. Blood that clung unpleasantly to his hands. The smell of burning flesh everywhere. There it was. A strong memory of pain, a memory from his childhood. They took everything of value. His mother was killed by bandits. One day he lost his mother, and another day he said goodbye to his master. All he could do was run away. At this moment, blue flames began to envelop his neck. Baek-sung wasted no time and gave the guy this opportunity. Now it's worth it to see how they'll work together. Mr. Song also remembers a good proverb. After death, a tiger's hide remains of a tiger, but a man's name remains of a man. Baek-sung opened the closet and took out his possessed bow. This bow was 1.5 times taller than Mr. Song himself. Baek-sung draws the bowstring and wonders what the name of the clown in the deer mask is. Bon-san called his name, not realizing what was just happening. Mr. Song promised not to forget this name, following a saying he heard in his childhood. The released arrow is traveling at breakneck speed. She rushes past the soldiers standing in the square, and he's headed straight for Bonsana. The arrow starts to cut through the clown's mask, but something strange happens. Suddenly, the guy seemed to vanish into thin air. An arrow slams into the ground, and above the soldiers can be seen deer antlers surrounded by lightning. Bonsana mask dance, deer dance. Spirits become evil because of old grudges. Evil spirits are flames that need people's grief to ignite. The greater the grief, the stronger the evil spirit. Bonsan had gotten very close to Song-san and was about to strike with reverse lightning. The skimmer's foot misses its target and stops a few inches from Baksun's face. A ghostly hand grabbed Bonsan's leg and stopped his attack. The evil spirit shouted out Bonsan's name. That silhouette was familiar to the guy. It was Han Yu's ghost, and he was the one who stopped Bonsan from delivering the winning blow. The clown looked at his dead friend with horror. The clown could not save him when he asked for help. The grief of the deceased is always too much to bear. Meanwhile, the girl carves a doll out of wood that looks very much like Bonsan. Chin Marin and Chil Yi were randomly walking by and noticed Mrs. Zhao. They were impressed with the abilities of the Crow Squad leader. The first doll they recognized in seconds, but the second one was a mystery to them. Bonsan is sitting in front of Han Yu, who is holding his leg. Bonsan's friend asks for help. He doesn't want to die. The evil spirit is getting closer and closer to the guy's neck. The deceased wonders why only Bonsan was able to survive. Baksung watches from the sidelines as an evil spirit slams into the clown's neck. If a hunter decides to fight with the help of evil spirits, he calls upon the spirits who serve the tiger to help him fight it. This violation of the natural order of things shortens the hunter's life. Hunter begins his journey with the burden of guilt for having managed to survive. Bonsan is trying to brush Ghost off. For a brief moment, the evil spirit is dispelled. But the guy doesn't understand why Han Yu was the one who came to him. Turning around, he again sees the corpses of dead deer, but this time there are 3. The third deer symbolizes the demise of Han Yu. All these mind games are going on in Bonsan's mind. At that moment, a ghostly hand closed 2 fingers around Bonsan's neck. Mr. Song moved closer to try to control the process. Each closed finger denotes a stage in the pulling of the hunter's soul. Based on the fact that 1 finger is already secured, the guy has only 3 strands of life left. Baek-sung sees that the spirit coming to the guy is his dead battle buddy. Will the guy be able to handle him before he has no threads of life left? The mind games are getting more and more sophisticated. Little Bonsan, with his eyes closed, tries to run away from the place, but hits the chest of his deceased friend. Han Yu stands smiling in front of the guy and holds out the rope to him. Lowering his gaze, Bonsan saw that the rope was tied in a noose. The second thread of life was cut off as well. Time is not playing into the guy's hands. He should stop running away and face the offense head-on. The guy looked at the smiling Han Yu again and touched the noose that the evil spirit held. Bonsan must resist or the spirit will drag him down with it. The third thread of life is torn, only 1 left. Wouldn't he be able to go back and change the course of events? Baek-sung realizes that things are really bad for the guy, but there's no way to intervene. The guy walks over to the noose and pokes his head through. His mind is completely under the control of the evil spirit. Han Yu stares ominously at Bonsan. Nothing can stop him anymore. Suddenly, there was the sound of jingling bells. Bonsan can hear and see him in front of him quite clearly. Mrs. Zhao managed to bring the guy back to his senses at the last moment. Bonsan begins to greedily gulp air. He sees, hears, and understands nothing. Squad leader Crow removes the mask from the clown's face and praises him for a good effort. Bonsan is starting to come to his senses, but from such shock and oxygen depletion he faints. Mr. Song asks, as if nothing happened, to keep a closer eye on such incidents. Ms. Zhao assured that she was watching very closely. Meanwhile, the fight between Leader and Yong was nearing its finale. They had both warmed up nicely and should probably finish beating up the old blind man. The leader had heard that Yonga had lost a fighter in the last campaign. But unfortunately, that is the way of the tiger hunter. It is impossible to save everyone, and you have to be prepared for such losses. Yonga was probably the most knowledgeable hunter. He was well aware of the path he was on when he declared his mission to catch the black tiger. If all is so well, the leader suggests that Young follow on a new mission. Of course, Yonga agrees. The leader throws an object on the ground and asks the shaman to work with the item. This thing needs to be processed well and find out as much information as possible. This item is from the body of a black tiger victim. Hearing that it was about the black tiger, Yonga immediately began to pack for a new trip. After a while, the girl recounts events that have recently occurred. The young mistress was eager to see the blooming flowers in the gardens, but her mother forbade her to leave the palace grounds. The girl was upset, and her maid decided to sneak the young mistress into the garden. She admired the remaining blooming flowers, but suddenly the voice of the elder mistress was heard. The maid was frightened and headed for the voice in the darkness. She hoped to explain everything and avoid punishment for herself and the young mistress. But when they came closer, they saw a huge tiger with red eyes. The tiger shoved the maid away and tore into the young girl. The jewelry the girl was wearing was broken under the paw of a large tiger. If the tiger actually touched the thing, its energy should remain on it, and the shaman should be able to trace its location. For disobedience that led to the death of the young mistress, the maid is to be sentenced to death. It didn't take long for Yonga to take the surviving maid to his team. The hunter offered Dong-su to take her into his care. All this under the pretext that the girl had seen a tiger and could be useful in finding him. After gathering some information, Yonga headed towards the squad leader. At this time, Mrs. Zhao finished the ritual with the decoration. It was obvious how the girl had expended a great deal of energy and had fainted from it. Yonggu managed to catch the squad leader and asked how the progress on learning that thing was going. Zhao reported that the ritual had been successfully completed. After the girl came to her senses, she and Yonggu began to discuss the conclusions of the ritual. Unfortunately, the keychain didn't show the energy of evil spirits. It was like the tiger was good at controlling spirits. But here was the black tiger she couldn't detect. If the black tiger touched this trinket, the feeling would be exactly the same as the time Yonggu touched the piece of mask on the governor's neck. But that wasn't all. The girl smelled a familiar odor that she had smelled before. The skimmer had the same odor, the smell of broken mask fragments. Bonsan was checking his mask at this time. After recent events, he couldn't see anything in her. After coming into contact with the spirit seal, the mask was no longer functional. Taking off his mask, Bonsan saw Dongsu in front of him. From the surprise, the guy fell on his ass. Bongsan was surprised to see the man, and Dongsu came to visit the guy after the incident at the Tiger Hunter's exam. Also, the sniper reported that the group was reassembling for the mission. But after what happened, Bonsan can take his time. He's not taken for a hike. As the dialogue continues, Yonggu wonders what Zhao means by the smell of mask fragments. The skimmer had the same scent as the keychain. They smell like fragments of a mask. And though Zhao wasn't sure of the route, she had a plan. If Bonsan's words are true and the fragments of his mask are a map to the human mask, then the tiger that killed the keychain owner is not a black tiger, but he is a member of his pack. So they can find this tiger and use it to track the black tiger or find out where their lair is. Back to Bonsan and Dongsu again. The guy is dumbfounded by such actions on the part of the commanding officer. It's not even a matter of command here. It's just that the soldiers in the squad noticed who exactly came as an evil spirit to Bonsan. They found out it was Han Yu, which means the guy was shocked by the death of his comrade. So there's a chance that Bongsan won't be able to fight at full strength. The always smiling Han Yu was like a brother to Dongsu. But there are always casualties in the hunt. Sometimes it's one warrior, and sometimes it can be a dozen. Soldiers don't have time to mourn each one. Bongsan is indeed a strong warrior, and Dongsu first sees a tiger fight a man who doesn't have a possessed weapon. Even experienced tiger hunters die. Such a hunt is always accompanied by death on both sides, and strength alone is not enough. At this point, Bonsan needs a good comrade he can trust to watch his back. One who will not mourn the death of a comrade, or one who cannot sacrifice himself for a comrade. From the beginning, the guy joined the squad just to save his own skin. No one from the Crow Squad wants to have common business with Bonsan, for they know the reason he joined them. All squad members consciously entered the service, understanding what they would be doing and why. Dongsu gave the kid some advice. Bonsan should let go of the bitterness of losing a friend and offer his back to the squad members to prove that you are really on the same team. Or there is another option. Just leave the tiger hunters, and the punishment of high-ranking people will no longer apply to you. After a while, Bonsan sat on the roof and watched his squad leave without him. The guy mused aloud about the recent conversation between him and Dongsu. Bonsan made the decision to get the hell out of the hunters. But on the other hand, they took away fragments of the masks. And what's more horrible, they want to destroy them. The most interesting dilemma: does Mr. Song's promise work? What if the guy can become a real tiger hunter? Bonsan remembered again the bet with the man who had introduced himself as an acquaintance of the master. Anyway, there's no time to sit around, we have to get to work. The guy decided to do the deed and planned to take possession of the mask fragments again, but he didn't notice how the blind leader approached him. Bonsan's amazement was unparalleled. How all these hunters managed to appear out of nowhere. The man introduced himself as the leader of all tiger hunters, and the guy must be the new clown. The guy was surprised to learn that the man in front of him was the leader of the hunters. After thinking that how could a blind man be so powerful, Bonsan was hit on the head with a stick. Chances are he sees everything perfectly well, but he closes his eyes for some reason. The leader inquired if the guy had finished making the spirit mask. Rumors of what happened at the hunter's exam spread very quickly. The evil spirit mask is different from all the standard weapons. The man wants to see what's wrong with Bonsan's mask. The guy wondered again if the leader was aware of the masks. The leader smiled and pulled out his mask. He knows that the dance of a mask filled with grief is much smoother. Plus, it's superior to any weapon in terms of power. The guy's indignation was off the charts. He hadn't expected to see such a mask. Was it really real? Bonsan had never seen a mask without a chin before. Judging by the reaction, the guy still knows very little about masks. Bonsan doesn't want to deal with spirits, grief, and other matters related to the dead. If he knew how to hunt tigers right away, he would probably refuse to take the exam. But then how does a guy want to become a tiger hunter without wielding the power of evil spirits? Bonsan is no longer interested in the topic. He wants to remain a simple comedian. He's just a clown who's supposed to amuse people. And this power is only for that purpose. But as for the ghost dance, how can you have fun watching someone else's suffering? The dance of the maxi filled with grief was not Bonson's main goal from the beginning. Rising to his feet, the lad said he would not be a burden and could run other errands unrelated to hunting. The lad also remembered a not insignificant fact, for the man is the leader of the hunters. Bonson wondered what happened to the mask fragments. The leader reported that a meeting had just recently taken place. Yonga came to the leader again to ask him not to destroy the fragments. Baksung was also present. The two competing hunters came again at the same moment. Mr. Song also changed his mind about the map. He asked me not to rush into destroying the fragments. As the opinions of the two hunters converged, the leader did not destroy the map. Does this mean that Yonga took the fragments with him on his new quest? The leader confirmed Bonson's hunch. The map fragments are needed to catch the black tiger. Bonson was shocked. He had practically refused to participate in the expedition himself, and missed the opportunity to recover the fragments for himself. Meanwhile, the squad heads off in search of the tiger that killed the keychain holder. The mask fragments begin to react strangely, and the shaman senses it. Mrs. Zhao can sense where the fragments are reaching. They should cross the river and head north. Bonson has his head snapped back a nice jab and is trying to think of a plan to intercept. If he moves out now, he can easily catch up with them. It's a better solution than just sitting around doing nothing. The leader noticed the guy's anxious plunge into thought. Also, the man was interested in the earrings Bonson was wearing. Did their previous owner really pass away? Every word the leader said took the guy by surprise. Suddenly, the leader disappeared from Bonson's sight. Once behind the guy, the leader warned him not to even think about catching up with the mask fragments. The leader swung his stick, dozens of blue hands behind his shoulders. With a strong punch, the leader struck the guy right in the neck. Bonson fell to the roof with a thunderous crash and hit his head hard. The leader thought the guy was too slow. I wonder if he's so weak without his masks. And why would a mountain spirit choose to entrust everything to this guy? At this time, the Crow Squad is laying out a route. Judging by the activity, the tiger's location may be between 3 mountains. Dongsu called out to the hunter. He had urgent data from the maid. There's a chance the young mistress is still alive. The tiger speaks human language because it steals it from those it devours. The more people the tiger eats, the more the voices of the dead mingle in it. But this tiger can copy someone else's voice, even if it hasn't eaten that person. Could it be that it is not a tiger at all? The soldier who was drawing the map intervened in the conversation. Perhaps they were looking for the Changsan tiger. It is said to be a monster that copies other people's voices and deceives people. It usually appears near Changsan Mountain. It is rumored to have long white hair and claws like sickles. The tiger the troop is trying to find is also now near the mountain. He copies people's voices too, so it's quite possible. The maid also remembers that the beast had huge claws. Yonga was skeptical of this assumption. There are no monsters in this land, and people call ordinary beasts monsters because they are scared to death of them. Yonga had caught such monsters many times before, but they were all ordinary beasts, except that they were huge and slightly unusual. Hunter asked to calm down and not scare the soldiers with such tales. Most likely, people started the Changsan tiger legend after meeting the tiger that hunters are now looking for. Dongsu remarked that it had been a long time since they had hunted a tiger living in the mountains. Yonga agrees with the statement and orders everyone to rearm. Also, the hunter asks Mrs. Zhao to make protective talismans, as there is a good chance that the tiger is skillfully using the power of evil spirits. The soldier Naru, who is a cartographer, estimated that the unit would arrive at Mount Changsan around mid-afternoon. Behind what's going on, big red eyes are watching intently. The huge beast already knows their every move. There are disturbing rumors around Changsan Mountain, which almost all trade caravans from Hansong pass through. There is talk of a creature capable of copying the human voice and devouring all who climb the mountain. They say that creature has a black face and red eyes. It takes the lives of travelers with its long, sickle-shaped claws. That creature has long white fur, which makes it look like a human from afar. The creature is as fast as a leopard and as strong as a tiger. The creature attacked the crow unit. The beast interrupted several soldiers. Meanwhile, Bonson woke up and saw Mr. Song in front of him. The guy was tied up again. Bak Seong explained that the leader had given instructions to prevent Mr. Bongsan from pursuing the Crow Squad by any means necessary. Bonsan looked at Bak Seong and wondered what happened to the mask fragments. But Mr. Song only confirmed the leader's words. Also, since Bak Seong kept his word, the agreement between him and Bongsan has been fulfilled. That's fine, but why do hunters keep tying people up? After all, the clown didn't break any rules. Mr. Song was in agreement with the guy and let him go. It had been a whole day since the guy had lost consciousness, and now he was unlikely to be able to catch up with Yong's squad. Bak Sung tossed the guy a scroll. Unrolling the scroll, Bongsan saw the redrawn parts of the mask. Mr. Song had managed to redraw them before the fragments were given to Young. The lad was glad of this gift, for now he would be able to recarve all the lost parts from the wood. But this scroll isn't going to get the guy for free. Bonsan warned me right away that he didn't have any money. Mr. Song said he didn't want his pieces of metal, he wanted Bongsan's body. Such words alarmed the lad. But it was much simpler than that. Mr. Song just needs a porter. They stepped outside the palace and found themselves in the huge marketplace of Unjong. Bongsan held many bales of cotton in his hands. It was unlikely that Mr. Song could afford such a large amount with only the salary of a tiger hunter. How did he get so much money? Vendors sell fresh fish caught directly from the Donghae River. The guy was surprised that right here they sell fresh fish and not somewhere in the harbor. Mr. Song noticed the guy's eyes widening at the assortment of items he saw. I wondered if he had never heard of Unjonggae. This market has everything from fresh mackerel straight from the waters of Donghae to delicious watermelons served to the king himself. Unjongga is the largest market in Joseon. You can find absolutely everything here. The market stretches from Jongyo all the way to the palace. Of course, there are always a lot of people here. Mr. Song explained enough to pique the guy's interest. Now it's time for the big purchases. They walked leisurely between the market stalls. About some places, Mr. Song bought medicine and paid with cotton. In others, he traded cotton for china and books. And in the silk tents, he paid with a tinkling coin. In the end, Mr. Song acquired everything he needed. After shopping, they handed the purchases over to the carrier. Baek Seong explained to whom and which items should be handed over. And lastly, Baek Seong slipped the carrier an envelope and asked him to deliver this for His Majesty as soon as possible. Mr. Song turned to Bongsan to say that their shopping was over. But the guy was already gone. Bongsan had already blended into the crowd and went to look around. He had helped Songsan enough, and now he planned to settle his own affairs. Bongsan came to the drugstore. He was looking for an herb called yokrincho. Mr. Song didn't expect Bongsan to run away so quickly. Anyway, he probably wants to have time to look around and buy something too. But Baek Sung doesn't want to return to the palace empty-handed either. Mr. Song stopped by the candy store looking for guapyong. Guapyong is available in a huge variety in all flavors. This sweet is very similar to fruit jelly. Meanwhile, there's an argument going on in the pharmacy. I can't believe this guy believed in the legend of yokrincho. Everyone says that it can cure any disease and can be used to make an elixir of immortality. But that's just bullshit. Maybe the guy meant yobincho, the most important thing for manhood. The guy thought it might come in handy. But when he heard the price of 7 coins, he got upset and asked for a discount. But he was in the biggest market of all, and he could make as much money as the other merchants by doing the mask dance. He rushed to the center of the market and asked the apothecary to wait a few minutes. Putting on a bull mask, the guy started calling people to the show. Strongman and bull wrestling, the show is about to begin. At this moment, a large set of guapyong was assembled for Mr. Song. Baek Sung asked me to pack everything in pretty boxes because it's all for a gift for a lady. Suddenly, Baek Sung heard a commotion in the streets of the marketplace. He left money and asked me to pack sweets for his return. Mr. Song runs to the noise. This is not a normal situation. What could have happened? A crow squad stood in front of the crowd and their appearance was shabby. A long time ago when tigers were still smoking pipes. Once upon a time there was a strong but very harmful wrestler. Every single day he was drunk and disorderly. And then one day one young man couldn't take it anymore and told him everything. How much longer he was going to make fun of everyone. The guy demanded an apology. But the wrestler only laughed in response. If the guy wants to hear an apology so badly, he should overpower the man. The young man couldn't go backwards, so he accepted the challenge. The fight was to take place in 5 days. Rumors of the impending fight spread throughout the village. The people wondered what the young man would think of to win the fight. But the more the people waited for this fight, the more the young man himself was afraid. In the end, he could think of no plan. Time passed, and the day of the fight came. The young man did not appear at the agreed place for a long time. The faces of the people gathered in the main square were disappointed. As the sun was setting, the young man finally appeared, gloomier than a cloud, leading a bull. He did not know how he could defeat the fighter, so he decided to pay him off by offering him his favorite bull in exchange for his life. The people were puzzled and did not understand why the guy had brought the bull. But the fighter looked at the bull and agreed to fight it. Misunderstanding everything, the fighter grabbed the bull by the horns. He was full of confidence that he could handle even a bull. That's how the fight between the fighter and the bull started. The young man didn't even have time to say anything before the fighter was already trying to take the bull down. But every movement of the wrestler made the bull angrier and angrier. That's when the bull started to act. Back to Baek Son and the Crow Squad. Mr. Song was surprised, after all. Yonga had gone in search of the tiger, but why was he here? The hunter reported that they are still chasing the tiger. They have been chasing him since Hwangam-san. He ambushed them and they lost 4 soldiers and 1 horse. The troop followed the tracks and they led them here. Baek Sung couldn't believe his ears at how true it could be. Could they be mistaken? But Mrs. Zhao senses his presence. The Changsan tiger first lures its prey. Because of its long white coat and small size, it can easily be mistaken for a human. He can easily hide among humans. Mr. Seong was very upset because they were now in Unjonga, and near Unjong is Gyeongbuk Palace. Placing Mrs. Zhao on his back, Yonga rushed off in search of the beast. We need to ask around if anyone saw the beast or bloody footprints. The tiger was wounded in the fight. You can't miss it. It's been over 10 years since the black tiger attack. It's only now that things are more or less stabilized. If the tiger doesn't attack His Majesty again, the country will be in chaos again. And besides, we have to catch the tiger before Baekseong's father finds out. A messenger brought gifts from Baekseong. The man with the strange seal on his face wondered why the tiger hunter sent all sorts of things bought at the market, since he should be sending the tiger skin. He asked to take things to the storeroom. Baekseong's father is receiving very important guests right now. These guests were the governor and his aide. They brought with them a leopard skin. The deputy was exhausted from carrying that hide. Why couldn't they just pass it on through someone else? The governor could not miss such an opportunity to meet an influential person. The king himself listens to Lord Baekseong. If you manage to meet his eyes, the governor might forget about that village and get promoted. Fortune smiled on the governor when he was able to keep the leopard skin, for Mr. So-wan adores leopards. Meanwhile, Bonson finished the story of the wrestler and the bull. The people were happy and laughed at the top of their voices. The clown held out a pile and asked to be paid for his labors if they liked the story. People kept laughing, but when they saw the pile, the smile on their faces disappeared. Everyone had different things to do abruptly. The clown was dumbfounded that in such a rich market people wouldn't give a dime. But since Bonson is a clown with experience, he has some trumps up his sleeves. The guy said a sequel to a well-known story is in the works. People stopped and wondered how good she would be. After saying that the sequel would be more fun and intriguing, one of the men dropped in the first coin. People began to fill the bowl with coins, making the clown happy. At that moment, the guy noticed that Yonga and Mrs. Zhao were passing by in the distance. Didn't those two go anywhere? The guy dismissed these thoughts, for he knew for a fact that the Crow Squad had gone hunting. The mask fragment sensed the presence of the tiger again, but Mrs. Zhao had previously checked that location. Had the beast changed direction again? Something strange is happening. Energy is appearing and disappearing sharply in different corners of the market. But now the energy is coming from all directions, as if he is everywhere. Meanwhile, the beast sits on the porch of the house covered in a green garment. But for some reason, no one from the whole street saw the tiger. Maybe the squad made a mistake, or maybe the tiger is already in the palace. Mr. Song noticed Bonson wearing a bull mask and wondered what he was doing. The guy said he didn't have enough money to pay off the merchant and decided to make a quick buck. Baek-sung grabbed the guy's hand and asked him to follow him. Bong-san wondered why there was such urgency. Mr. Song explained that there was a tiger hiding in the market. There will be another time for other questions, but right now we need to hurry. Baek-sung interrupted the performance by taking away the only actor. Some people who heard the conversation were a little alarmed, and others were disappointed that the story stopped at the most interesting point. One of the crowd was watching carefully, and something was obviously wrong with him. It seemed as if the beast might be looking through that man's eyes, and he probably saw what he wanted to see. Bong-san ran a few meters with Mr. Seong and then stopped abruptly. It seemed to him that what Baek-seong was saying was not true. Mr. Song promised to tell him later. Baek-sung urgently needs to arrive at the palace and ask the guy to warn Yong and evacuate the people. Suddenly, Baek-sung sensed danger. Mr. Sun punches the woman sharply in the head. From the look of her, it was the same person in the crowd who had been watching the two of them. Bong-san and Baek-sung noticed the large cleaver digging into the lord's body. Gyeongbokgung Palace, Horyong Hall, is the reception room of the commander of the tiger hunter. The governor and his aide have been waiting for an audience for a considerable amount of time. The man opened the door and invited the governor inside. The governor bowed his head and introduced himself to Mr. Baek-seong. Touching the leopard skin, the king's advisor was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the pelt's workmanship. Mr. So-wan asked the governor's name again. Jong Sun-moon, the man repeated. Baek-seong asked the governor to raise his head. Raising his gaze, this was clearly not what Sun-moon had expected to see. Mr. So-wan sat leaning against a huge red tiger. The gray-haired man inquired what that leopard skin was worth. Back to the incident in the market square. Mr. Song is weakened from the damage he received and falls to the ground. Bong-san manages to pick up the falling Baek-seong. Looking at the crowd of people, Mr. Song can't figure out where the attacker came from. Suddenly, the woman rises. Bong-san and Baek-seong watch intently. Rising up, she pounces on the tiger hunter again. Bon-san pushes Mr. Song away to protect him from the attack. The Skummarok puts on a mask and rushes to intercept. He's throwing his opponent to the ground. After disarming his attacker, Bon-san inquires about Mr. Song's condition. The man is still breathing, but that's not what we need to worry about right now. We need to eliminate the woman who attacked him. Bong-san realizes what Baek-sung means, but the guy doesn't want to kill the man. While Bon-san hesitates, the woman tries to harm them again. The woman is screaming very loudly, and at that moment blood is streaking down her face. A moment, and her head separates from her body. Yonga kills his attacker. The Crow Squad also rushes to help. Yonga asks for Mr. Song's help. At this moment, Bonsun is shocked by what he sees. Did Yonga really kill a man? Yonga replied that the man was already dead, and Mr. Song confirmed his words. The whole thing is that there are such tigers who instill evil spirits in dead bodies and control them like marionettes. These walking dead are called possessed puppets. Such corpses feel no pain and will not die unless their heads are stripped. Mrs. Zhao intervened in the conversation. She stopped sensing the tiger's presence. He must be trying to escape from persecution by using such puppets. Yonga wants to find the tiger himself as soon as possible. Tiger sees that these people bring a lot of problems. He wants to use more live power. Dongsu thinks that if Mrs. Zhao can no longer sense all the possessed puppets, maybe the tiger isn't in Onjong anymore either. Tiger is still close, as it is impossible to control the puppets at long range. But it takes a long time to search all the stores in the market. But Mr. Song has a lead. Although his face was heavily distorted by the evil spirit, Bak Sung remembered this candy seller. Tiger needs time to create new frenemies, and as such, the squad must rush to the candy shop. Speed would be needed now, and so Yonga ordered a couple of men to be left behind to protect Mr. Song and those who couldn't fight. The rest of us should hurry to the candy store. Suddenly, Bonsun asked Mrs. Zhao to linger for a moment. The guy guessed that the black bag contained fragments of the mask and asked to keep them for him. It was somehow easy, and Mrs. Zhao calmly handed the fragments to the guy. But she warned him not to remove the seals, as it would help him sense the approach of the possessed puppets. The troop went off in search of the tiger, hoping to meet him in the candy store. As soon as they separated, Mr. Song turned pale and felt very sick. He needs immediate medical attention. His breathing is not stable. It would be nice to use the deer mask and take Mr. Song to the doctor now, but unfortunately two things prevent it. The deer mask doesn't work, and Bongsan doesn't know the area to find the doctor. Suddenly, the guy hears bells ringing in the fragment bag, and at that moment the possessed puppet got very close to Bonsan. The guy very quickly puts on his mask and pushes his attacker to the ground. It happened just as the bell started ringing, so the seal signals when one of these walking dead is approaching. Bonsan asked everyone to listen carefully to the bag. He would help prevent the attacks of the possessed. No sooner had he finished than the bell began to ring even harder, and at that moment the possessed surrounded them. 3 bells, 3 possessed, plain and simple. The guy grabs the first one by the throat and throws him right in front of him. He takes down 2 possessed men sneaking up behind him. Nice throw. The bull mask works great. But at first the guy was even a little scared. Chomson saw the possessed fall a few feet away from her and pulled out a knife. The woman already wanted to finish off the possessed, but Bonsan shouted very loudly. Turning around, she reminded them that if they weren't beheaded, they would attack again. Dongsu intervened and said that they had no time to clarify their relationship, and he urgently needed to find a doctor for Mr. Song. Bonsan agreed and asked to speed up. At that moment, he heard someone approaching. The guy turns sharply to strike. A man running up stops Bonsan. He meets her again, Miss Yua standing in front of him. She removed the bandage and skalatza that she had rushed to help upon learning that the man needed a doctor. An hour ago, outside the drugstore, the pharmacist packaged the ingredients for sale. Miss Yua also asked if there was any information on the herb she was looking for. More specifically, Yokrincho herb. The pharmacist is surprised to hear the name of this mythical herb twice in one day. Some guy already asked about this herb today. The salesman started advertising his product again, trying to trick the girl into a few more unnecessary purchases. Miss Yua asked that from now on she not offer this kind of trash, and to let her know first if there is any information about the herb she is looking for. The thought of someone else looking for Yokrincho herb kept the girl in suspense. I suspect the Lord doesn't trust her and has sent someone else to look for her. Suddenly she hears a crowd of people laughing. She sees that many people are watching some kind of performance. Miss Yua discerned how far away the guy in the bull mask was telling the story. Is it really Bongsan? Suddenly a woman in a yellow vest pushes the girl. She was surprised at such rudeness. It was at this moment that a stabbing blow was stabbed into Mr. Song's body. The girl paid no attention to Bongsan and just ran to the injured man. She crouched down next to him and asked to see the wound. Even though the wound isn't deep, Baekseong lost a lot of blood. Miss Yua asked her to press the wound with a healing cloth as soon as she pulled out the knife. The traveling doctor pulled out his knife, at which point the bell rang again. Bonsan saw the attacker and swept him off his feet. Another puppet was unconscious. How many had the tiger had time to interrupt to summon so many? And why is Mr. Song always the target? Miss Yua also wondered why so many people were acting very strangely. Dongsu asked the maid to help Baekseong. Meanwhile, he would help Bongsan. Dongsu reminded the clown that he should be more cold-blooded and destroy the attackers to reduce their numbers. At that moment, the bell rang again. Dongsu readied himself to help and grabbed the hilt of his sword. The bell never stopped ringing. The possessed were getting closer and their numbers were increasing. The bell didn't falter. It rang non-stop. Miss Yuhua's eyes saw an army of possessed people. The walking dead surrounded them on all sides. Meanwhile, the intercept team, looking at the destruction and the bodies of the dead, some thought that the tiger had already escaped, and there was no point in pursuing it further. Yonga did not accept these ideas, for in the fight he was able to seriously injure the tiger. As the beast clawed at the soldier, Yonga attacked him. Hunter threw a cutting blow straight through the soldier. The beast itself was surprised at such indifference. Although it was clear that the fighter would not survive, using him to try to injure the beast was certainly the act of a cold-blooded killer. Yonga is trying to catch up to the tiger at all costs. Suddenly, one of the warriors calls the deputy by name. The dead fighter is making it hard for Young to concentrate with his shouting. And in the end, this distraction gives the tiger time to escape. Of use was only the information that he not only copies voices, but also invokes evil spirits to create possessed puppets. Mrs. Zhao runs up to Yang and asks him to stop. She uses the blood of a tiger to create a seal. This seal should help in the search for the escaped beast. Unfortunately, it has now been a long time. The blood is dried up and the seal no longer works. There is one last chance Mrs. Zhao will try to use the remnants of her power to summon a spirit to help track the tiger. Meanwhile, the tiger was angry for facing such a strong hunter. The map fragments were almost in his clutches. Tiger is wary of calling on evil spirits. He doesn't want to do it, but he asks for help. While the tiger is trying to do something, Mrs. Zhao has already finished summoning the evil spirit to follow. The dead man stood up abruptly, startling the soldiers. Zhao explains that the evil spirit that died in the tiger's clutches is trapped in this body. Now he will search for his killer. Now the hunter just needs to follow him. At that moment, Yonga notices a strange smoke. It was something very suspicious. The smoke began to thicken and change its color. Yonga grabs Mrs. Zhao and tries to shield her from the bright flash of light. A violent explosion occurs in the building. The pursuit squad was defeated. The bodies of the soldiers are mutilated and torn. Yonga was able to cover Zhao-sama with his body. The painfully familiar tube was approaching Yonga. Mr. Baek Sokwan's tiger stood in front of the tiger hunter. The red tiger noticed how Yong's mood soured after the explosion. The beast is pleased with the honor of defeating such a strong tiger hunter. Sometime before the explosion, the governor leaves after an audience with the king's counselor. The aide wondered how the conversation had gone, and whether the governor had gotten a promotion. But the man responded by saying that they should go home. Sanmun had gotten some very important information about his town, and was now happy to be governor of his town specifically. At that moment, a possessed man walked by them and scared them to death. It was very strange to see such a smelly man outside Sowansan's reception area. A man with a seal on his face opened the door and asked a man covered in blood to enter. Letting the possessed man in, the man with the seal asked the governor not to worry. This man is their guest. There was no limit to the surprise of the governor and his aide. The possessed man came to the counselor and sought his help. The red tiger was angry when he saw that he was just a puppet in front of him. Why didn't Changsan Tiger stick to etiquette and come to the meeting in person? The beast said he was in a difficult situation right now and came to ask for help. Baek Sowan already knows everything about the hunter and the fact that the tiger is almost trapped. Now, being in this position, what can the tiger offer to save his life? Changsan Tiger understood the risks and had thought out a plan in advance. The life of a tiger in exchange for the life of his son, Mr. Baek Seong. Now Dongsu and Bongsan are trying to hold back the onslaught of possessed puppets. A soldier takes off 4 heads at a time with one sword stroke, but the number of attackers is not decreasing. Even keepers of the mountains can summon up to 3 puppets at a time. How does a tiger manage that? While Dongsu mercilessly decapitates the walking dead, Bongsan rolls them to the ground with his bull power. But even this approach he doesn't particularly like. He feels like he's doing something wrong. Because of his restraint, the guy accidentally misses one possession. Managing to reach, the guy throws the body into the crowd of possessed men. Mr. Song's wound continues to bleed. Baek Sung decides to act more decisively. The man pulls out 2 seals with evil spirits. One seal he uses to summon blue flames and cauterize the wound. Thanks to this, he stopped the bleeding very quickly. Getting to his feet, Baek Sung asked if he could use the bow and arrow the doctor was carrying. Meanwhile, Yonga rises to his feet. He's trying to figure out what caused the explosion. Did the red tiger provoke it? The beast asks the hunter's name. But instead of being nice, he asks Mrs. Zhao to hide in a protected place. After saying those words, he bursts into action and rushes towards the red tiger. Tiger sees the attack, but calmly calls out his name, Gimyun. Exhaling, Gimyun let out a huge cloud of smoke that takes the shape of people. Smoke enveloped Yong's body and detonated. Mrs. Zhao watches in horror as her deputy nearly loses his life. At this moment, it is reported that human monsters are attacking people in Unjonga. Also, a tiger has been spotted causing explosions. Defense Minister Bansok requests immediate authorization to send soldiers to protect citizens. But in response, the king simply brushes it off without giving clear instructions. Baek Sowan says the case is already being handled by tiger hunters, and hence there is no need to use regular troops. But the defense minister disagrees with the advisor, as Bansok is responsible for the castle's defense. The king asked the defense minister not to interfere because, as it was already announced, tiger hunters were working. This answer of the king did not please the minister at all, and he tried to add a few more words. But the counselor quickly shut Bansok's mouth and sent him off to deal with other matters. At the moment of the first explosion, Tiger thought that this was exactly the signal he had been waiting for from Bak Sokwan. Then the beast must also be prepared. The possessed puppets have completely restrained Bonsan's body. The guy asks Dongsu for help. But things are not sweet for Dongsu either. The defenders are in a very difficult position. They should do something about it urgently. An unprecedented force rips the puppets to shreds. Bonsan noticed the arrow, but by whom was it fired? Mr. Song used the second seal of evil spirits on the bow and arrow taken from the doctor. Miss Yuwa was surprised to see flames on her weapon. Bak Sung calmed the girl down, saying that after this incident was over, he would buy her a new one. Literally a couple of shots were enough to free Bonsan and Dongsu. Bak Sung was up to the task in seconds. All that was left of the puppets were stains and scraps. Mr. Song's body was very weak. In this state, Bak Sung couldn't create a possessed weapon right here. There had to be some way out of this situation, though you can't overdo it. Who you really need to worry about right now is Mr. Yonga. He's not in a sweet spot at all right now. The tiger is pleasantly surprised at the spirit capabilities of the hunter, but it probably won't help Mr. Yonga. Now the red tiger wants to know what the hunter's plan is, and if there is one at all. Does the nameless warrior have something to surprise the tiger with? A little while ago, Yonga was injured in the explosion, but he managed to stay on his feet. The smoke he exhales first takes on human form and then explodes. In this case, Yonga decides to check something and attacks the tiger again. His sword cuts through the smoke and the not fully formed guises. And again another explosion. The tiger hunter is holding on as best he can. The power of the tiger is just enormous. You have to try to avoid its attacks somehow. But Yonga noticed a very useful piece of information. If you cut the smoke before the human form appears, there will be no explosion. The red tiger saw the warrior hesitate. Surely he must have a plan. Yonga rushes forward again, needing to get within striking distance. And you have to do it before the explosion happens. The hunter swiftly cuts through all the smoke in his path and approaches the beast. But he seems to have forgotten one major point. The real adversary remains the red tiger, not the smoke. Yonga flies off to a great distance again. The warrior stands up again and sees his armor partially begin to disintegrate. The armor will still be able to withstand a few attacks or explosions. Since the smoke explodes in a chain, if you miss something, you won't get close to the tiger. If you only deal with the smoke, the tiger will attack. He's as strong as the master of the mountain, if not stronger. Suddenly a soldier crawls out from under the rubble. Young Ga and Kim Yun didn't expect that anyone else was able to survive. At this moment, the tiger exhales a cloud of smoke towards the soldier. Yonga manages to neutralize the smoke and saves the soldier from imminent death. Kim Yun was not pleased that the hunter had saved the soldier's life. He came closer and advised the warrior to move away and stay out of the way. As a gentleman, he would like to show mercy, but as a loyal servant, he must destroy everyone. No one should be left alive. While explosions are going off on one side, Bonson and the others are watching from another angle. That is the direction the tiger interception team should be heading. It's all very strange because if they caught up with the Changsan tiger, why are there explosions? That tiger doesn't have that kind of ability. And so we're back to that very scene. So what's the plan the nameless warrior came up with? Another takedown attempt from Young. Once again, the warrior flies off in the opposite direction. Mrs. Zhao sees how hard Young is going through. It's just like last time, always all broken. Younga sacrificed his health to keep the tiger at bay. But was there ever a moment when Young missed the beast? Does he really like fighting tigers so much? His persistence is good, but his health should not be overlooked. For if he becomes very weak, the evil spirit will take his life. Suddenly a bell rang and a possessed man appeared near the second squad. But as it turned out, it was Zhao San's technique, a haunting spirit. So the tiger is elsewhere, and this spirit will be able to lead them there. Bak Sung suggests following the spirit and finding Changsan tiger, while Dongsu worries about the interception squad. It was likely that Mrs. Zhao had spent a lot of energy creating this spirit, and there were many explosions at their side. It's because there are still explosions going on that we can assume that Young Ga is still alive. That's why Bak Seong's team must go after the puppet that leads to the tiger. Yonga is completely beaten up, his clothes torn and rune inscriptions visible on his body. Tiger thought it was too pathetic a sight. The warrior continues to fight, though his sword is long since broken. Is his loyalty to the king so high? What about comrades? It's all just hate and spite. Yonga, unlike Baekseong, doesn't talk weapons with seals. Yonga is a walking weapon himself. The hunter's answer clearly did not please the tiger. It's said that the noble lord is slow to take revenge, and since Young is impatient, one conclusion can be drawn. He's no gentleman. Blue flames begin to approach the broken sword. The first thread of life is severed. Whatever he touches becomes a weapon in his hands. The closer he gets to death, the stronger the evil spirit within him. The deadly swing of a cursed sword. Jimyun didn't expect such power. Yonga is without a doubt the strongest swordsman among non-tiger hunters. So Baekseong's squad will head out to catch the Changsan tiger. Someone has to avenge the first scar on Baekseong's body, and he's the one who should do it and face that bastard. At this time, outside the pharmacy, the pharmacist is hiding behind his counter and panicking badly. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out to him. He rushes to help his wife without anyone noticing her. But coming out of hiding, he sees the possessed man in front of him. Tiger copied the other man's voice again to draw the man out. Already the 30th man on the count for his cunning plan. Baekseong's unit slowly follows the trail of the Changsan tiger. The market was suspiciously quiet. For unknown reasons, government troops had not stepped in to protect the population. The whole thing is that Mr. So-won personally stopped the army so that no one would see the tiger. Baek So-won gave the pipe to the tiger and dismissed the army, all for more than a fattened son by a concubine. One of the main reasons is not to tarnish Baek So-won's father's honor. At this moment, the blood from Mr. Song's wound began to ooze out again. Bonsun took the evil spirit to follow and put it on his shoulders. While the clown holds it, Mr. Seon needs to stop the bleeding and move on. Suddenly, Chomsun noticed someone approaching, someone dressed in green. He turned to Baekseong, asking him to listen to his proposal. Meanwhile, Mr. So-won's blood son is up to something. He found a man who should have information about the Changsan tiger. Throwing him a bag of money, the man demanded to know all the information he had. While one son tries to learn the tiger's secrets, the other son is shot by an unknown man in a green cape. Baek-sung doesn't want to do business with people like him. The garment fell to the ground, and beneath it were two possessed men. Those possessed by the evil spirit began to surround Mr. Song and his men. Whether he wants to or not, he's going to have to listen to the tiger's offer. The first question was about the tiger's loyalty and loyalty, but after all, he is a beast, and such a thing is not possible. The man practically raised him himself, and he knows what he's talking about. After hearing that it was treason to raise tigers in this country, the man said he had been helping his brother more than raising him himself. Now he regrets not killing him sooner. Controlling the possessed man, the tiger opened the door for them. Behind the door were people with handkerchiefs over their faces. When they heard a human voice, they began to plead for help. All as one, they screamed and begged for help to free themselves. Dongsu decided that this was another trick and not to blindly trust the tiger. But Mr. Song did not deny the possibility that there were not only possessed people there, but also living people. The beast has asked for the surveillance to stop, and in return he promises to let these men go. It's worth waiting a bit, and when the beast runs far enough away, the connection with the evil spirits will be broken. The men of the squad were in shock. They didn't realize how true this could be. The beast was pleased with himself. He hadn't expected people to believe his words so easily. Only Bonsen wasn't thrilled with such suggestions. The clown grabbed the possessed man by the pant leg with his right hand, and with great force threw him to the ground. Bonsan made a counter-proposal. Showing a sack of map pieces, the clown offered the tiger to fight for their possession. The clown brought his foot up to the possessed man's face. The tiger has no time to think. Stepping on his nose, the boy hurried the tiger along. Stop simply wasting time. It is better to fight and solve all issues in one fell swoop. The second question that interested the man with the seal on his face was how dangerous this beast could be, for it was not large in size at all. The man said that the beast had completely eaten his brother who was tending the tiger. Even the sentries, who were in full uniform and ready to fight, he defeated without much effort. Only he miraculously escaped, but he was left with huge scars all over his body as a memento. He's cunning, fast, and strong. He cannot be underestimated. Tiger was in agreement that time was running out. The possessed man grabbed Bonsan's leg with both hands to immobilize him, at which point he pounced on him from behind. Changsan Tiger is ready to show off and fight for parts of the map. More than a decade ago, people grieve for those who died at the hands of bandits. Miss Yua, along with her father and the nanny, watch what is happening. Little Bonsan also sits by his mother's grave, and that's the minute the kids run to him and yell his name. They ask to be shown the mask dance. Young Miss Yua sees the boy suffering. Bonsan turns sharply to the children. He takes any submissions for a performance. His face is hidden behind a smiling mask. Despite the difficult situation, the boy can't say no to the kids and not have fun with them. Back to the present, where Bonsan was able to react to the attack and grab the beast's paws. Changsan Tiger is surprised by Bonsan's strength. The clown is mocking the beast. Does the tiger really look like that? Mr. Sleep asks to hold the beast and draws the bowstring. Beast yells at Baek-sung and tells him to drop his weapon. Otherwise, the beast will have to kill the hostages. That's why people's faces are covered with handkerchiefs, so that there is no way to understand how many of those present are alive and how many are possessed. While the tiger is distracted by Baek-sung, Bongsan rushes in to attack. Clown pushes the beast away from his squad. Immediately after the attack, the beast strikes out with its paw and wounds Bonsan in the chest. Bonsan demands a fight for possession of the map, while the beast threatens to massacre the hostages. The Changsan tiger offers to give a demonstration of his intentions by slitting the throat of one of the humans. Mr. Song looks at the clown, hoping he has a plan to save people. The beast can see from their faces that they are terribly frightened, just like all normal people. Tiger is determined to get his hands on the card and hide in the hustle and bustle. The clown picked up a fallen coin from the ground, and looking at it remembered the old days. After the mask dance, the satisfied children thanked the boy, and when everyone had dispersed, he would again sit right on the ground and remove the mask behind which he hid his real emotions. The guy noticed the surveillance and asked not to hide. Bonsan began to tell her that he felt good the moment he saw Jinbok's smile, or when Mujin throws his head back and laughs, and Duchil grins his teeth, and when Miss Yuwa covers her mouth with her hand and laughs. In truth, as the audience looks on and laughs at the dance, the comedian under the mask also considers the audience. Everyone thinks the clown only dances to make money, but he does it because he's bored too. By the facial expressions with those bright smiles. Will the tiger be able to guess what facial expression is now hidden under the mask? Bonsan slams his feet into the ground with all his might, creating a huge shockwave that knocks everyone off their feet. The guy rushes at breakneck speed toward the beast like a bull to a red rag. As he approaches, the guy swings his fist. The beast doesn't understand why the guy hopes to change anything with one blow, because the animal knows his power. Horn blow. A fist catches up with the beast's muzzle, pushing it back harder and harder. It felt like his hand was going to go right through. Once upon a time, the beast met someone who was thought to be dead, but as it turned out, the black tiger of the four winds was alive and recovering. The black tiger was impressed with the ability to create more than 200 puppets. But without puppets, Changsan tiger is too small to take on the mountain alone. The black tiger asked the white beast not to hide anymore and to return to the den of tigers. In return, the black tiger promises protection. The beast has slowly begun to regain consciousness, but it can barely move. Opening his eyes, the beast saw a clown in front of him, demanding the release of the hostages. Without thinking long, the guy grabs the tiger again and slams it to the ground. Mr. Song noticed how the possessed puppets shook after the blow. While Bongsan was entertaining the tiger, Baeksung and Dongsu decided to release the living people. The clown was distracted for a second by a noise behind him. The Changsan tiger decides to seize the moment and tries to attack the guy. Bonsan easily blocks a punch and unleashes another attack, pressing his opponent into the ground. As the rescued people leave the ruinous place, Miss Yuwa stares mesmerized at Bonsan. At that instant, a blue hand attacks the clown. Apparently, the defeated evil spirits returned to the beast and enveloped it in blue flames. Mr. Sleep also wants to help the clown and takes aim before another shot is fired. But it doesn't work and the beast just dodges. Immediately afterward, Changsan tiger accelerates towards the guy. Bonsan meets his opponent with a head-on attack. It was evident that the beast had lost this collision by flying away a few meters. Bonsan, even without the power of evil spirits, manages to defeat tigers. There is a possibility that the tiger is very frightened, and that's why he's using puppets. The beast wanted to snap at him, but looking at Bonsan approaching him, he simply remained silent. Apparently he's really scared, so the bull wins the fight. Before Bonsan can finish his attack, a red tiger knocks the guy down. Gimyun flew out of nowhere, but at just the right moment for the Changsan tiger. Following the tiger, another guest appeared. Mr. Yonga with a naked torso and a huge seal on his chest. Seeing the tiger hunter, the white beast panicked. After all, they had agreed that the red tiger would help the beast to escape. While Gimyun was trying to justify himself, Bonsan's hand showed behind his back. The boy clutched at the tiger's shoulder and crawled out of the collapsed structure as if nothing had happened. Bonsan was happy to see Mr. Yong, but what happened to his sword? And why are there two tigers here now? Naru hurries over to Youngsan. He points to the red tiger and asks to get it over with as soon as possible. Suddenly, Mrs. Zhao shoves Naru away to keep him away from the hunter. While he's in that state, he shouldn't be approached, much less touched. Meanwhile, Bonsan is having a nice conversation with the tiger. The boy likes the tiger's fur and his smoking pipe. Noticing Bonsan harassing Gimyun, Changsanshi tiger asks to finish the guy off for always getting in the way. The red tiger is not happy to hear these shameless words, but he has his master's orders. At the same minute, red smoke envelops the guy. Bonsan is surprised to see the smoke taking human form. Noticing this, Yanga hurries over to Bonsan. In an instant, Yanga cut through all the red clouds of smoke. Not realizing what's going on, Naru warns the guy that the smoke explodes as soon as it takes human form. The white tiger notices the defenseless members of the troop and realizes that he can seize the moment. While Yanga is distracted by the red tiger, Changsan Beast plans to act. The beast threatens the lives of the squad members and orders Yong to drop his weapon. A tiger hunter draws attention to the threat, but fails to prevent the attack. An arrow shrouded in blue flame approaches the beast. Changsan Tiger didn't count on anyone else to intervene. Mr. Song won't allow anyone else to be taken hostage. The beast is very angry and is trying to get revenge on his abuser. He breaks the arrow to free his paw. At this moment, Yonga had already gotten as close to the Changsan tiger as possible. Seeing the hunter, the tiger panics. The beast reminds him once again that he has an agreement with Bak Seokwan, and the red tiger must protect him. Gimyun doesn't like to be treated this way, but his duty obliges him to obey. Bonsan grabs the tiger and asks her to play with him. The red tiger doesn't have enough time. He has to save the beast urgently. Tiger lets out red smoke under Bonsan's legs again. The guy stares mesmerized at the faces under his nagas. There was a huge explosion. The tiger pounced on Yong while the hunter swung at Changsan's tiger. And Bongsan took cover from the explosion by grabbing onto the red tiger. The clown stops the red tiger right before it attacks. Gimyun didn't expect the guy to possess such physical strength. Bonsan hugs the tiger and throws him over his leg. With all his might, the guy pins the tiger to the ground. Yonga swings in to decapitate the tiger while he can't move. Gimyun manages to dodge at the last moment. Tiger breaks from the clinch and increases the distance. Gimyun realizes that the situation is becoming critical, but he doesn't need a victory. Only the successful execution of his master's order. Bak Seonghwa hands the tiger his pipe. Gimyun should help the Changsan tiger leave the Unjong market. Yongga and Bongsan restrain Gimyun. They don't give him a chance to save the white tiger's skin. At this moment, Changsan tiger is under fire from Mr. Song. Bak Seong is too weak, he can't attack like before. Besides, he only has one arrow left. Changsan tiger sees that things are starting to get better and instigates Bak Seong in every way possible. Mr. Song is loading the last arrow, he should be more careful. Bak Seong has been trying not to use lifelines, but this time there is no other option. As the white beast dodges the archer's attacks, Gimyun remembers his master's admonition. The information that the Changsanshi tiger has to convey to the black tiger of the Four Winds is more important than the life of the red tiger. Gimyun is completely loyal to his master, and therefore will obey the order given to him at any cost. Tiger takes a big puff from the pipe, and releasing copious amounts of red smoke. The smoke spreads over a huge area. Yonga doesn't have time to neutralize it. Clouds of red smoke enveloped everyone in the tiger's sight. Gimyun began to growl loudly and warn Changsan tiger of the threat. The beast must urgently leave the target radius. The beast looked warily at Gimyun, and at this moment Baek Sung was aiming at him. The image of the beast disappears into the mist. Baek Sung takes a shot to the unknown. Mr. Yonga tries to clean up all the smoke, but unfortunately his attempts are not successful. The only chance to end this madness is to kill the tiger. Gimyun sees the attacking hunter, and in that instant, bamboo stakes formed out of the smoke, blocking the path for Yong. The entire area covered in smoke was covered in bamboo. Bamboo may break, but it will not sag. It was an honor for the tiger to fight the nameless warrior. In an instant, the bamboo snapped. There was a huge explosion. Sometime after the explosion, when the dust began to settle, Miss Yuwa regains consciousness. She sees three other members of the squad in front of her, namely the maid Chomson, Mr. Song, and the soldier Dong-su. Baek Sung explained that there was an explosion that caused the walls to collapse. Unfortunately, they have not yet been able to find a way out of this trap. What happened to the others is not yet known, because they were right at the epicenter of the explosion. From what she heard, Miss Yuwa recalled the events of the past. When she went to check on Bonsan 5 years ago, all she saw was a ruined dwelling. Such thoughts made the girl feel sick to her stomach. Suddenly, a loud banging sound began to come from behind the stone walls. Bonsan smashes the walls with his bare fists and gets straight to Mr. Song's squad. Incredible amazement was on the faces of the comrades. The lad was glad to find his friends alive and unharmed. But except Dong-su panicked, because if a guy breaks down walls like that, he might bring the ceiling down on them. Bonsan tapped on the wall defiantly and asked to listen. The part that sounds resounding is hollow inside, so it's safe to break it, so there's nothing to worry about. Miss Yuwa turned her attention to the boy's hands. They were very badly beaten and bleeding. Bonsan's comrades were also interested in the question of whether the boy had seen anyone else. Bonsan said he saw Commander Yong and needed to meet him urgently. The lad led them to the hunter, but he was lying unconscious, with Mrs. Zhao sitting beside him. The whole group froze at such a sight. All 4 strands of life had been severed. It was incredibly lucky that he was still breathing, for he had taken a direct hit from the blast. If anyone else had been in his shoes, they would have long ago caught their breath from shock. Mrs. Zhao must perform a soul-soothing ritual to restore at least 1 thread of life. Bonsan inquired what was needed for the ritual. The answer was obvious: life for life. We need to make a sacrifice now. Usually a pig or a dog is used, but you're unlikely to find one here, which means you have to use another life. Hearing these words, Chomson became very nervous. The maid remembered Mr. Young's words when he asked her to keep an eye on her, because she might be of some use. Has the hour of that very usefulness struck? Silence filled the ruins. Suddenly, a young Naru soldier raised his hand and offered himself as a sacrifice. Dong-su tried to reason with the guy, but he stood his ground confidently. Naru absolutely does not want to die, but he can't let his commander die. Without Mr. Young, the boy would not have gained anything that he was able to acquire and achieve while in his squad. So it's settled. The only thing the soldier asks is that it be as painless and quick as possible. Zhao doesn't want to accept the guy's offer of his sacrifice. Naru was glad to hear that no one wished for his death. Baksung, looking at Zhao-sama and Soldier Naru, realized that the leader of Zhao's squad wanted to sacrifice himself. Mr. Song is trying to prevent this turn of events from happening. Baksung pulls out an arrow and tries to think of another plan. Unlike Yang, Mr. Song still has a thread of life he can use. Looking at Mr. Song, Bonsan wants to minimize the risks. On the one hand, Yanga, who needs a ritual. On the other, Mr. Song is barely on his feet. With the third, the very frightened soldiers of the squad. Bonsan approaches Mr. Song and asks him to lower his bow. One arrow won't be able to pierce the way out. And besides, because of the severe wound, it could be a fatal strain on the body. Bonsan took off his bull mask and began rummaging around in his bag. The guy has another idea because it doesn't matter who becomes the offering for the ritual. Bonsan asked which way the tigers were headed, and Zhao kindly pointed out the direction. The clown put on a new mask. After these actions, the guy will likely be bedridden for a while, but he promises to provide both a way out and a life. The rest will rest on their shoulders. Dongsu tried to ask what kind of mask the guy was wearing. He hadn't seen it from now on. An animal that is faster than a deer and stronger than an ox. A beast that rushes straight to its target. The beast that doesn't look back. The wild boar dance. Bonsan rests his foot against the wall and asks the others not to get too close. He pushes off the wall with incredible force and rushes to the opposite wall. The one Mrs. Zhao pointed out. Once, not too long ago, Bonsan had already tried to learn the wild boar mask dance. His mysterious friend was helping him with this. It got better and better each time. But this dance consumed a large amount of vitality. The destructive power was impressive, but endurance should be better developed. This time around, a lot depends on self-control. With each wall destroyed, the stone prison fell apart. The group needs to follow Bonsan as quickly as possible, before everything comes crashing down on the squad's heads. Dongsu grabbed Deputy Yong and told him to get out of this place as soon as possible. All the squad members rushed to catch up with Bonsan. It was impressive. Was that really the kind of passage a guy could make with his naked body? Meanwhile, Bonsan continues to punch his way to the outside. A boar dance that runs endlessly, not being able to stop or change direction, like walking a tightrope. The slightest hesitation will be a mistake leading to death. A race that is breathtaking. With each blow, the mask loses its power, and it's starting to splinter. Flying kick is a great power, but very risky. If the guy dies, it can't be called dancing skill. And besides, he has to win the bet, so he must survive at all costs. Bonsan is not going to give up. He runs for salvation. And every impulse or hesitation, it is not his desire to end his life as soon as possible. It's a tension that is embedded in the boar's mask. Out of the eyes of the rushing boar, one memory comes to the boy. His heart pounded as he ran down the endless road. He stared ahead and held onto the hem of his clothes, begging for the one and only. The moment he looked at his future teacher, he begged for a mind-blowing race. Now he won't let Miss Yue or anyone else die, no matter what stands in his way. He broke through the final barrier and broke free. Meanwhile, the tigers are happy to have escaped from the hunters. Even the red tiger managed to survive the explosion. But at that moment, Bonsan was able to catch up with them at a great speed. The game of hide-and-seek was probably over. The guy freed the group from imprisonment, and now a sacrifice is needed for Mr. Yong. In the last few moments, Gimyun put out his paw to hold back the Scamander's attack. The bone instantly cracked, but Gimyun must protect Changsan Tiger at all costs. At least the red tiger was able to buy some time. Baksun's group also got out from under the rubble. They spotted Bonsan and 2 tigers ahead. Skamorok was able to hold off the tigers, but he needs help. Gimyun turned to the white tiger and asked him to run away as soon as possible. The guy would no longer be able to catch up with him. The boar's mask was destroyed. The tigers are once again trying to escape from pursuit. Baksung sees this, and once again cries out for help from the evil spirits. He has to help find a sacrifice to offer to save Yong. Mr. Song raises his bow and tries to take good aim. They've already let their prey slip through their fingers once. This time they can't be allowed to escape. Baksung uses one thread of life, and it's all for one shot that could decide the fate of Hunter Yong. There was a shot of incredible power. The arrow flew away like a ghostly falcon. It seemed that the target was doomed, but Changsan Tiger dodges the attack. Did such an expensive attack fail? The white beast again began to taunt the hunter in every way possible. But the tiger didn't know the true power of the jockey shot. This kind of shot has 2 arrows. The evil spirit summoned by Mr. Song is attached to the arrow, and afterward he copies it. No more will the tiger be able to open its mouth to mock anyone. The second arrow makes a huge hole in the Changsan Tiger's neck. Before he died, Changsan Tiger recalled events from his life. The 2 traders heard a woman's voice calling for help. Looking into the bushes, the traders found a gang of bandits along with a bound white tiger. It was the beast that issued cries for help in a woman's voice, attracting the attention of gullible traders. The bandits were happy to help the good-natured fellows lose their goods. The catch was always satisfying. The merchants at Unjong Market always have plenty of goods. While some viewed the prey, others watched the beast. They called him the Nightingale because of his ability to copy voices. Thanks to the nightingale, they easily emptied the pockets of passing caravans and traders. Many people already know all the traps set, but this beast has radically changed the hunt for rich people. Suddenly, the bandits found more merchants passing by. One of the bandits was glad to hear it was time to go hunting again. The bandit used his whip and struck the beast. It's time to get back to work. At the time, the beast was very frightened and obeyed the bandit's commands. But after a time, the beast rebelled and tormented his abuser. It was his payment for his upbringing. The bandit was screaming and begging for help from his brothers, while the rest of the group reacted to the noise. The beast had already prepared to end the life of its loving master. Now that the bandits told all the delights of human life, he became prey himself. Suddenly there was the sound of jingling bells. Mrs. Zhao appeared behind Changsun Tiger's back. She looked at the beast and raised her right hand. The beast found itself in the palm of the shaman's hand. In one hand was a tiger, in the other the body of the hunter Yang. The scales are balanced and Mrs. Zhao will take the life of the beast in exchange for Yang's life. All the moments of life flashed before Changsun Tiger's eyes. From his captive life with outlaws and his encounter with the black tiger, until the final battles with the clown and the encounter with the fatal arrow. The evil spirit's grip had dissipated. The tiger hunter opened his eyes. The mission with the Changsun tiger has come to an end. After regaining consciousness, Yanga wondered who was the victim for the ritual. Mr. Song caught the white beast, but at the cost of one life. Yanga appreciated Baksung's action, and now he's indebted to him. Although Song-san didn't just do it because of the hunter, he also had his own reasons for doing it. Young also thanked his leader Zhao. She's also happy that everything worked out. Hunter didn't forget to inquire for the newcomer as well. Skomorok did a great job and rescued everyone from under the rubble. Miss Yuwa took his pulse. His heartbeat is stable and his life is not in danger. He broke through all the rubble with his naked body, risking his life. And it happens every time. Climbing up, Yanga discovered the red tiger's pipe. He dropped it when he was running. Suddenly, the clatter of hooves was heard. A mounted troop approaches the group of survivors. The soldiers cheered the approaching rescue party. But these were not government troops. This is Big Brother Q and his men. The man dismounted without uttering a word. He was just silently looking at everything around him. Mr. Q recognized the carcass of the killed Changsun tiger and was glad that they would not have to deal with it. But Gimyun wasn't around. Apparently, Mr. Xianghua ordered to protect the white tiger at all costs, but the fact that the tiger fought and did not die could be considered a betrayal. Gimyun had only had contact with a black tiger once. He wouldn't betray his father, who had raised him his whole life. But the problem is that the illegitimate Bak Xiong should have avoided contact with the red tiger. Gimyun knows too much. Even if he wasn't going to betray, Bak Xiong might have gotten something out of that blabbermouth. And finally, the last question, did Baek Sung realize that the red tiger was sent by his father? We should check everything out and do the right thing. Perhaps Mr. Q is reacting in vain. After a little thought, the older brother calls out to one of the soldiers. These are his first words after appearing in front of Baek Xiong. Big Brother Q ordered to get rid of all of them. At the same instant, the soldiers rushed to attack. No one in the band expected this turn of events. Needless to say, I'm shocked myself. Each soldier rushed toward his goal. As Mr. Q believes, there is nothing wrong with being cautious. A crushing blow lands to the throat of Mr. Song. A few minutes before, Miss Yuwa felt his pulse. It's normal. Bonson needs rest. The girl notices a troop of horsemen approaching, but they don't look like government troops at all. At that moment, Bak Q gives the order to eliminate everyone. Shadow of Mist, Mu Young, a group of assassins consisting of military personnel who report to Bak Q, Bak Xionghua's eldest son. Neither their age nor their origins are known. They are lethal weapons of which there are only rumors. They dissipate like fog, silently, and they take lives. After a while, Bonson woke up. He didn't realize where he was or what had happened. It's been 3 days since the events at Anjong Market. The first to greet Bonsan was Naru. He could barely hold back tears of joy. Naru was glad that Bonsan had regained consciousness. The boy had already said goodbye to him like he had to the other comrades. Dongsu shoved the cartographer away and also praised Bonsan for the feats he had accomplished. Bonasan can't remember what happened and wondered how the others were feeling. Dongsu revealed that Deputy Yong had survived. Thanks to the sacrifice, the Zhao leader was able to perform the ritual. The Changsun tiger is dead and the red tiger is missing. Naru didn't hold back. He wants to tell what else happened while Bonsan was unconscious. Suddenly there were assassins. Mr. Song was in mortal danger, but Yonga rushed to his aid, blocking the attack with an ordinary wooden stick. Mr. Song was dumbfounded by Yong's action after all. He hadn't even had time to recover properly. The hunter very quickly neutralized all the mercenaries. But once again he had to cut one thread of life. Yonga looked at Baek Sung. The debt was paid. Mr. Song didn't expect that Yonga would be able to handle the debt repayment so quickly. The tiger hunter has literally just come back from the dead, but he's back on the prowl. Baek Q looked at the hunter in silence. It was the first time he had seen the power of a tiger hunter summoning ghosts. A man using a broken board as a sword is mind-boggling. You can make a sword that doesn't exist. Seems like a pretty handy skill. But it's all too slavish. Baek Q simply walked past the hunter and headed deeper into the squad. Is it because the opponent is not a tiger? Yanga dared to let the enemy live. Baek Q calmly walks between all the squad members. No one can move. He didn't consider the enemy's strength due to carelessness. Mr. Q approached one of the soldiers and took the sword from him. Baek Q would be circumspect this time. Mr. Song guesses what might happen now. Baek Q picks up 2 swords. He gets into a special fighting stance. Mr. Q slowed his movements. He raises a thick fog. Baek Sung is already sure of his older brother's next actions. He tries to stop him. Mr. Q starts spinning his sword strangely. Yanga doesn't realize what's going on, but he doesn't have time to wait. He tries to attack first. Baek Q sees the hunter's ambition. The wind blows the seal on Q's face, and the outline of the mask can be seen behind it. In a moment of complete concentration, Q uses the skill Traceless Disappearance. At the same instant, 2 sword points come up to the hunter's throat. This was a speed they had never seen before. Unbelievable sight. Young is on the verge of death again. Suddenly, a mysterious man dressed in orange and with a mask on his face intervened in the fight. He blocked Mr. Q's attack. Who is this mysterious masked man? The unknown man, in an orderly tone, told Mr. Q to stop. Bonsan listens very carefully to the narration from Naru. He couldn't believe that a masked man with a long sword had appeared out of nowhere. A white and green smiling mask. Yanga must have met this man before. His voice was very familiar to him. The masked man is disappointed by Baek Q's actions, because a gentleman can't kill without a reason. He is facing tiger hunters who are on duty. In response, Mr. Q described a different situation, in which he faced the culprits who were behind the collapse of Tondaman Gate, and the criminals who had injured his soldiers. His Majesty said he would forgive them for catching the tiger no matter what they did. This unknown man is the shadow of His Majesty in Starcloud Blade, and his name is Viram. He gives a guarantee. That's how their Changsan tiger hunt ended. Thanks to Viram, everyone made it back safely. It was very surprising. It was at that moment that the king's bodyguard appeared. But Bonsan was fixated on the mask. If it's not beastly, it's not the one Bonsan wears. However, it's too powerful to just hide her face. The fact that even Youngsan couldn't react to it speaks for itself. Though the leader of the tiger hunters also wore a mask the lad hadn't seen, and he knew something about the master. Are there other types of masks that Bonsan doesn't know about? Or maybe it's not the master's side. Dongsu looked at Bonsan and remembered something. He remembered what he had said to him before he left. That time he advised him to leave the unit as none of the soldiers trusted the guy. Bongsan had probably already guessed what Dongsu was getting at. Dongsu bowed his head and began to beg Bonsan's forgiveness. Sniper apologized for the bias. Dongsu had reprimanded the guy that time for joining the Tiger Hunter squad for personal reasons. But when fighting the tigers, and during the escape from the collapsed gate, Bongsan was the first to take the risk and stand up for his colleagues. Dongsu thanked for fighting together and apologized. Bonsan asked haltingly, after all, Dongsu was right in that the guy joined the squad to avoid punishment from the village headman. And since Bonsan has a copy of the mask shards, it no longer makes sense for him to stay in the squad. Dongsu and Naru are alarmed. They understand what the guy is getting at. Bonsan smiled awkwardly and tried to be sarcastic. He was a wanderer by nature, and he didn't want to stay in his comfort zone. Before he could say anything, Miss Yuhua came in from behind him. She saw that Bonsan had finally sauntered over. Guy was surprised to find his girlfriend in a tiger hunter outpost. Naru forgot to warn me that there had been a few changes in the Unjong market since the incident. A healer decided to join the tiger hunting party. Tiger hunting squad headquarters, dormitories. Bonsan was surprised at the meeting. He couldn't believe that Miss Yuhua had joined the hunters. Is it really true? Naru was especially pleased and tried to cheer Bonsan up. After the last battle, Bonsan was wounded and Lady Yuhua decided to stay behind to help. They have always lacked a healer, because it is very hard to find someone who wants to work with hunters. It was strange because Miss Yuhua always said she wouldn't work. The girl just stared at the guy in silence. After a little deliberation, she informed me that she needed bones. She means tiger bones. The skull and forelimb bones are used to make expensive medicines. You also need meat, claws, tail, nose, and eyes. These are all important medicinal ingredients. Hunters need hides, and she as a healer needs bones. It was because of this that the girl agreed to help for a while. Why would she be interested in bones now, since the last time she was rumored to be looking for Yokrincho? Bonsan tried to dissuade the girl, reminding her of the recent events when the tiger had brought down the market gate. This is all very dangerous business. Dongsu and Naru didn't understand why the guy was so anxious. Since this is a matter of life and death, the healer has a duty to help in this endeavor. A healer is needed without a doubt, but why exactly should she fill that role? Looking at Bonsan and his reaction, Dongsu suspected that the guy and the girl knew each other. But why does he call the healer Mims? The girl was tired of listening to Bonsan's lectures and headed for another patient. It's already decided. This turn of events did not please the guy at all. He can't understand why she agreed after nearly getting killed several times in the Unjong market. Seeing the puzzled Bonsan, his comrades were shocked. After a while, Miss Yuwa prepares a potion for Mr. Sung. Baek Sung notices that the girl has some pretty good skills for a traveling healer, and potions and acupuncture. As soon as Yuwa crouched down to retrieve the needles, Mr. Song sharply questioned her true origins, who her father and mother were, for she had too much knowledge for a commoner. The girl was surprised at first, but then she pulled herself together and started to finish her work. It didn't matter where she came from. What mattered was that Xianghua-san was much better than her. She's heard about Mr. Song's father. She doesn't hide her dislike. So does he come from a high-ranking family? If she really knows his father, then she should know that Baek Seong shouldn't be answering like that. The guy lifted her face so she was looking into his eyes. Without thinking long, the girl batted the guy's hand away. She is but the daughter of a scholar who has fallen into disfavor with the power of the great Baek Seok-wan. She remembers that moment, when young Miss Yuwa and Bonsan were walking in the forest not far from the village. The girl showed the boy a copper coin, saying that the money had depreciated in value. The boy wondered, how could the value of money drop? Not so long ago, the nobles of Hansen gave a cash dowry when they bought rice. The nobles of Hansen used to pay 6 or 7 nyang for 1 sack of rice, instead of 5 nyang. When the rice shortage began throughout the country, copper coins weighing 1 nyang appeared. The price of rice, which was 5 nyang per sack, rose to 50 nyang. Farmers who sold rice had to buy it back at 10 times the price. The only people whose lives have been improved by this coin are Hansen's nobles. While the girl was recounting the reason for the currency's decline, the boy climbed high into a tree. He wasn't listening very carefully and got it all mixed up. He didn't care about that. Yuwa wondered why the guy was climbing so high. Why do you have to climb them forever anyway? The guy was insanely excited to climb up into the treetops. That way he could look around the neighborhood. These marvelous views filled his heart with joy and serenity. Young Miss Yuwa admired his skill in finding only the kindest and good things. Both mountains and rivers look different from above. Looking into the distance, one gets the feeling that he can go anywhere. The girl asked him how he was doing it, but the guy didn't understand the question. She asked him to teach her to climb trees too, but I think she was asking for something completely different. After a while, Bonsan climbs the tree in front of the fence. Jumping off, he landed outside the inner area of the hunter's headquarters. He packed his bag, taking his belongings and masks, even the ones that were broken. But most importantly, he had a scroll with redrawn portions of the map. He glanced once more at the hunter's territory. If he went down the hill, he would be outside the tiger hunting party. Bonsan turned around in the opposite direction from the headquarters and began to walk away. But Miss Yuwa's voice rang in his head again. Bonsan froze in place. These thoughts keep him on his toes. He threw off his bag and sat down on the hill. Bonsan doesn't understand how he should act in this situation. After all, if he stays, in all likelihood he won't be able to win the argument. Even if the guy drops the bet and just walks away, he can't get away. After all, the ghost of a masked stranger will be able to find him wherever he goes. The guy pulled his clothes down to look at the marks on his body. Bonsan can't give up the argument. The search for the human mask is paramount. Bonsan only took a copy of the map with him, so the tiger hunting squad has no reason to pursue him. The original map left the tracks of the black tiger, so leaving it behind will keep the hunting party on their own. But here are those 2 masks, from the hunting party and the man from the government. Maybe they have a connection to the master. Maybe this is the key to unlocking the human mask. Also, Miss Yuwa, the guy is trying to leave right after a long separation. But that stranger. He must do something sinister if Bongsan loses. These thoughts make the guy feel uncomfortable. At the same time, on the other side of the headquarters, an unidentified man marvels at the scale of the place. He hadn't been to these places in a long time. It's time to have some fun. It was deep into the night. 2 soldiers are standing on duty. One of them complains about how hard it is for him to earn money. Trying to stay awake at the post, they struck up a conversation about a recent incident, when the Raven squad had lost 6 soldiers in the capture of the Cheongsan tiger. The guard wondered who in the squad had managed to survive. While they were discussing the survivors in the shadows, something began to appear in front of them. The silhouette stopped more and more clearly. One of the soldiers took notice. An unknown masked man approached the main entrance. The guards asked the unidentified man to slowly come into the light. The night guest slowly brought his hand up to his face. He put his index finger up to his mask, showing the guards to keep their voices down. At that very second, the most talkative of them had his head blown off, and John Doe calmly walked into the main gate. 2 days ago. The leader of the tiger hunters counts down the squad managers. The leader was unhappy that they had started the war without his knowledge. The man was shocked by what happened in the marketplace. And how come the great gate collapsed? Can a tiger really shoot a cannon? Yonga walked closer and placed a long tube on the table. Yong's hunter reported that the tiger used this pipe as a weapon. A red tiger suddenly appeared in the marketplace and used this pipe to turn evil spirits into smoke and blow them up. It was the power of the tobacco pipe that brought down the gate. This specimen interested the leader of the hunters. It was definitely a tool for controlling evil spirits. Meanwhile, an unknown masked man had already sneaked into the leader's quarters and found a tobacco pipe there. He found it in an ordinary drawer that wasn't even locked. It all seemed too easy for him. Suddenly, the leader standing behind him decided to attack the thief. But this attack failed to take him by surprise. Still, the perception of an easy task was not justified. The leader of the hunters noticed that the thief was clearly confident in the item he had picked up, so the unsub didn't sneak in here by accident. As the leader examined the tube, he noticed that it was all painted with symbols. It's not just a Zhao amulet that seals a spirit into a weapon. This is a spell designed to give temperament to an evil spirit that is already attached to the body. This thing is clearly not for humans, judging by its size and its capabilities. In other words, it's an evil spirits device for the tiger. For a tiger who already had experience controlling evil spirits, it's the same as giving a master a tool revealing technique. But one thing that was unclear was who was able to do such a thing. After thinking for a bit, Mrs. Zhao suggested the following. You can say for sure the person who helps the tiger is able to handle her spirits as well as she does. I mean, this man is most likely a shaman, and as fate would have it, at the moment when the leader of the hunters was looking for the madman who had given his weapon to the tiger, he himself came to him. The unknown man only laughed, foolish to consider him the creator of this pipe. In a moment of evasion, the headdress flew off the night thief's head, and as the moon shone its light on his mask, the hunter leader remembered. He remembered that it was an old mountain spirit mask. Jumping back a bit, the thief also reported that he had once seen the mask worn by the hunter leader, but so far he hasn't been able to remember exactly where it was. The leader raises his stick and summons the power of the spirits. Moments later, he delivers a powerful blow that rips his opponent in two. The mysterious thief was too calm in front of the chaos spirit. Even though it was hollowed out, none of that mattered. The upper torso did not fall with a clatter to the floor, but deftly held its balance on two arms. And at that moment, the thief remembered. It was a lion mask that was also made by a mountain spirit. Literally, in an instant, the man pulled himself together without a scratch. The only thing that alarms the thief is that the mask is missing a chin. In his opinion, it was some kind of half-lion. A mysterious man flew through the hunter leader like a ghost. He would dissolve and reappear. The leader of the tiger hunters couldn't understand what that green flame was. At this point, the thief picked up the phone and headed for the exit. He suggests we have fun next time. Meanwhile, Bonsun is still sitting on the hill. While he ponders, he decides to carve himself a new monkey mask. And he wants to figure out what to do. Run off to find the human mask alone or stay with the tiger hunters and ask for cooperation. Either option is dangerous. But first, there's one question. He's going to have to deal with someone after all. While he was training with the unsub, he was exhausted. Young Bonsun didn't understand why such heavy training was needed since he just wanted to dance the mask dance. The new teacher explained that only a strong and pure body could capture the power of the mask. That's probably what the mountain spirit would have said. Weak men are boring. Who knows, maybe there'll be a war for the human mask. But how does the guy win if the rules say you can take everything away? Anyone can wait for someone to find her and then attack her. The stranger cheered the kid up and said that he personally wouldn't do anything about it. He was too proud to make a bet with a kid like that. John Doe will appoint a representative for this role. There will be a rival who will also be looking for a human mask. An opponent who will make an argument with the guy instead of the mysterious masked man. After a while, the mysterious thief left the tiger hunter's territory. With a confident stride, he heads toward whoever is waiting for him. And waiting for him at that moment was none other than the chaos spirit Black Tiger Spirit of the Four Winds. Tiger noticed that the guy's clothes were torn, which meant the case hadn't gone quietly as he'd instructed. The unidentified man shoved a tobacco pipe into the tiger's mouth and asked him to pay no attention to trifles. After looking at the capital, the man asked if the tiger really wanted to go there personally. The black tiger ordered him to wait for him at this spot. For now, he'll be meeting with the leader. Meanwhile, at the main entrance of the tiger hunters' headquarters, the guards found the bodies of 2 dead soldiers at the post and called the leader. Dried corpses, probably a case of tokabi flames. A power that can not only put together a dismembered body, but also kill a person is truly bizarre. Did the ancient chaos spirit that was sealed by the spirit of the mountains really appear? The leader of the tiger hunters ordered the bodies removed and silence until officially ordered. This whole situation was pretty suspicious. Tokabi flame and evil spirit are different kinds of forces. The long tube technique would only be useful to a tiger controlling evil spirits. Why would a chaos spirit need a pipe that it can't even use? And while the hunter leader was thinking of one thing, the masked unknown was enjoying the views of the capital and remembering the encounter with the lion-masked man. Will he be able to kill him again? The cool night wind whispered a tune to him. In the moonlight, wanderer, you cross the mountains, but do not tread the path where the wind whistles. In the dark night where thou art lost, go not to the pass where the fire burns like darkness. The big tiger lurks in the deep shadows, where the moonlight does not penetrate. With claws sharp and a wicked look, he waits for you where night reigns. Footsteps can be heard, back, away from death, you away from death, you away from death. The black tiger is coming for you. Baek Sotwan's mansion. Mr. Sowon woke up hearing a strange sound. The old man saw the black tiger of the four winds in front of him. He was dumbfounded by the tiger's action and started talking too loudly out of surprise, which interested the guard. The guard inquired if all was well. Tiger nudged the tobacco pipe with his paw. The beast hinted that he had a special offer for Seonghwa-san. After thinking for a bit, the old man sent his guard to get some rest. Lighting a pipe, Baek Seonghwa began to ask what matter the black tiger himself had come to him about, and why he brought his pipe with him. The red tiger personally came to the black tiger of the four winds. Gimyun came to ask for help from an ally. Black Tiger was surprised, for the deal with Baek Seonghwa was over. Jumping down from the mountain, the black tiger walked closer to Gimyun. If the red tiger needs power, Baek Sowon must be willing to give up his flesh. Gimyun promised that the black tiger would not suffer any losses. In the end, the red one asked the black tiger for help to return the tube to Seonghwa-san. There was probably no other choice, as the pipe was in the hands of a squad of tiger hunters. Gimyun wouldn't be able to fight the troop alone. Mr. Seonghwa would be pursued if he had a hand in it. Using tigers to retrieve the pipe, Seonghwa-san could come up with such a plan. However, just because the tiger acted without reporting, does that mean it guessed Baek Seonghwa's intentions? A good servant is not just one who obeys, but one who is able to recognize the master's will and move forward. Tiger disagrees. Going forward is the role of a leader. Mr. Seonghwa asks that Gimyun be brought back alive. And this pipe is his property. In return for this favor, the black tiger wants to know the information the old man got from Changsan Tiger. 3 days ago, Gyeongbagung Palace. The moment the white beast came to ask Baek Sowon for help. At first, Changsan Tiger tried to threaten, offering to spare Baek Seong in return for help. But such an ultimatum didn't work. If he wants to cooperate, the beast needs to offer something worthwhile. And anyway, what's the rush? They haven't found the human mask yet. Or did the white tiger manage to find a grave after all? Baek Sowon began to brush the location of the grave that Changsan Tiger said. Mr. Sowon gave the manuscript to the black tiger. Gimyun will be able to read it. This information is useless to Baek Sowon. There is no reason for him to lie. It won't do any good for the black tiger either. We'll have to dig up the grave. The whims of the spirit of chaos are not something that can be controlled. The black tiger took the tube with him. He will check the grave first, and then send back both the tube and the red tiger. Before the black tiger left, Baek Sowon inquired about the completion of the human mask map. It will be finished soon. The hunt for the cowardly king will begin after finding the human mask. After a long conversation, the tiger left Seonghwa-san's chambers. Meanwhile, the bell rang. His Majesty awoke either from a nightmare or a premonition. The guards noticed someone moving around the inside of the castle. The king began to call for his bodyguard Viryam. Starcloud Blade, Wormum immediately appeared in the king's chambers. His Majesty senses the presence of a tiger and asks that an army be called in to search the palace. Viryam suggests calling a healer if His Majesty is having a nightmare. The king is sure the tiger was here. It wasn't a nightmare. It came to kill him. What does the hunting party do anyway? Why are there tigers walking in front of the palace? If they had done their job clearly, the Unjong market wouldn't have been destroyed. William tried to explain that even experienced hunters couldn't catch the beast named Jung San that had infiltrated the market. The king didn't want to listen to pathetic excuses. He demands to call the leader of the tiger hunting team, Nahaisu. He should take responsibility for what happened in the Unjong market. Young Mr. Young is called by his father. He only trusts his son to follow in his footsteps. But after a moment, the father's joyful voice faded. The black tiger of the four winds killed the king. Yonga, armed with a sword, wonders why the tiger would dare to do such a thing to his father. The tiger sees the young man's timid movements. It tells you to tense your chest, not your legs. Don't look back when you fight. Look only forward. He who prepares to run away from the hunting field will become prey. Yonga saw all his loved ones drenched in blood. Out of fear, the guy drops his sword. His eyes filled with terror. One of the dead women is climbing over the young gentleman's clothes. She's asking him for something important, the weeping spirit of an unworthy mother. The evil spirit grabbed Mr. Young by the neck. The hunter woke up and tried to reach for the bowl. He fumbled for Zhao Sama's talismans. Taking one talisman, he placed it on the ghost's hand. In that instant, the ghost dissolved into thin air. Another one of Mr. Young's nightmares. After a while, someone's sneaking around in the bushes. Mr. Yonga comes out of the bushes carrying a bag full of psych bottles. The hunter spotted Bonson. They were both surprised to see each other here. They hadn't seen each other since the scuffle at Unjong Market. Is Bonson trying to escape again? The guy explained that he was only planning a mask. He needs to make up for the lack of them. And actually, the guy plans to stay in the unit as a tiger hunter, and there's a reason for that. Yonga-san apologized and took a seat next to the boy. He silently began pouring himself a drink. Bonsan looked at the bottle and asked for a pour for him too. At this moment, there were sounds of wood planing. After a few minutes, Bongsan and Yonga each had a cup. While the guy brags about the cup he made in a matter of minutes, Mr. Yonga empties the next portion. Bonsan tries to get the hunter to talk, but he only silently continues to consume alcohol. This speed of drinking alcohol frightened the guy. Mr. Yonga didn't stop for a minute. Bonsan tried to make conversation somehow, but Young just ignored the guy. Stone-faced, he simply held out the bottle to the guy, offering to fill the cup. Bonsan got tired of knocking on a closed door and decided to also drink ungodly no matter what. Having gotten quite drunk, Bonsan was clearly relaxed, but the tiger hunter was still like after the first one. Finally, Yonga started talking. He started to ask about the bull mask the guy had used in the last fight. Why didn't the guy use it that day to escape? Bonsan just couldn't do it. He didn't take her with him that day. After all, he didn't expect to meet a knife-wielding maniac in the drunken governor's bedroom. Next time, even if it's noisy, the guy will be willing to use a mask. Then he would not have lost all his precious fragments that he had so carefully collected. It had been a long time, and they were still sitting on the hill. Despite the fact that the lad is often treated with contempt because of his low origin, he could not imagine that for a piece of wood, he, who already has nothing, would have a knife held to his throat. But they both realize it wasn't a simple piece of wood. The guy was upset because Yonga didn't answer any of his questions. Looking behind him, the hunter noticed that almost all the drinks were gone. After thinking for a bit, Yonga said he could answer one question. Bonsan hadn't expected such a suggestion. How is it that suddenly someone who's been stone-faced about alcohol would suggest such a thing? The guy had so many questions, but which one interested him the most? Why is Yonga trying to catch the black tiger of the four winds? The hunter froze for a moment. He heard that when he joined the Crow Squad. It's unlikely that a person like Young is driven by a desire to get rich or something like that. Is it just a personal grudge? Yonga drinks sake in silence. Having finished his drink, the hunter set the cup down without uttering a word. Hearing no response, Bonsan decided to share what he himself had noticed. As he looks at Mr. Yong, the boy has thoughts of a cold and hard winter. Resentment and self-blame intertwine and begin to boil up inside. The feeling that a guy is obligated to avenge his master, the insomnia. At the time, it was incredibly hard. In the meantime, he decided not to avenge his death. Rather, he would find a human mask, as the master willed. Continuing to dance in Master's mask is a way to repay the favor. That's Bonsan's opinion. Besides, wouldn't Mr. Yonge like to fill the cup to the brim with joy and laughter? The hunter listened carefully to Bonsan. Picking up the cup, he replied that it wasn't about filling. In one sharp movement, he brought the cup to his lips and drank it. The only thing he said afterward was the word revenge. These cases involving the emptying of the bowl. The boy understood what Young-san meant. But then, having emptied the cup, what is Yonga going to fill it with? The tiger hunter hesitated again, clutching the sake bowl in his hand. This question was not answered by the boy, for Mr. Yonga said he would answer only one question. They sat like that until the morning, never once clinking their bowls. After a while, Bong-san and Mrs. Zhao are having a conversation. After that time, the boy never had a drink with Mr. Yong once. It was such a long time ago. It had been about a year since they had returned from the Wunjong market. They sat near a tree and looked off into the distance. I wonder if the guy had known it would turn out this way. Would he have made him answer that day? After all, he hadn't even heard the answer to the question of what he would fill the emptied glass with. What good would that do, though? Bonsan thought he was talking nonsense. Perhaps he should stop remembering that moment. The guy got up from the ground and called out to Mrs. Zhao. The sky is practically overcast. Apparently it's going to rain soon. He gave the girl a hand to help her stand up. They need to get up soon or they'll get soaked in the rain. In times like these, you have to be especially careful. If it's just the two of them, they're going to break into the palace, the one the king is in. Bonsan and Mrs. Zhao look at the capital palace with something burning. At the same time, Mr. Song also sees smoke on the castle grounds. Today they are performing the ritual of calling for rain again. Despite the severe drought, there is great commotion in the palace day and night. Mr. Sleep is suffering from insomnia again, but maybe that's even better. The day it rains for real. A bloody storm will sweep through the palace. Back to the present. Tiger Hunter headquarters. Bonsan was awakened after a good drinking session. The sun is already high and the soldiers have a lot of work to do today. Dongsu noticed that Bonsan was absent during the night. The guy wouldn't tell me what he'd done last night. He just said he'd decided to take a little walk. The sniper didn't believe his words, but decided not to pressure the guy. In any case, now it was time to pack quickly and take care of important business. Bonsan really hopes it won't be physical training. And not far away, Miss Yuhua is hiding and eavesdropping. Bonsan is almost packed and ready for the urgent and important business. Dongsu said that this task is related to the dead soldiers. the soldiers who died in the capture of the Changsan tiger. The task of Bonsan, Dongsu, and Naru is to collect the belongings of the dead, and afterwards to send the items and their bodies to their relatives and friends. Meanwhile, in the hunter leader's quarters, Baek Sung came to Na Hyas in connection with the rumors about last night. Did the assassin dare to visit the leader of the tiger hunters? The room is a mess, desks and cabinets overturned, even doors blown off. What really happened? Hesusan silently recalls the events. The leader said the air wasn't flowing well enough into the room and that's why he ripped the doors off. But looking at the floor, Baek Sung continued to sarcastic. Hesusan asked him not to ask too many questions and to prepare to go to the palace. His Majesty is looking for the leader of the hunters, and Baek Sung will go as a chaperone. Generally, this is standard procedure, but it's most likely due to the chaos that occurred in the Unjong market. This time, the king might be enraged and might even rip the hunter leader's head off. Back to Bonsan. 6 soldiers died in the last mission, and only the 3 of them survived. Naru abruptly took the clothes from Bonsan as the latter, improperly folding them. There's no one better than Naru at cleaning and organizing. He's the best at what he does. This guy shows you how to pack properly and quickly. At that moment, a soldier from another squad came to them. He had come to see the remnants of the Raven unit. Dongsu knows this man. His name is Gongchan from the Snake Squad. Bongsan has seen him before too. He is the one who failed the exam with the evil spirits. Gongchan was angry when he heard such a thing, because he wasn't the only one who fainted after being strangled by an evil spirit. But it doesn't matter anymore. Gongchan asks Dongsu for a one-on-one conversation. This is very important and won't take much time. While Dongsu went out to talk, Bonsan asked Naru what Gongchan meant by calling them leftovers. The whole point is that in Raven's unit, all the soldiers are unknown. Archers, pikemen, physically advanced soldiers, and stealthy ambush attacks. All of them failed various tests and could not join the regular units. They wear simple unmarked uniforms and do black jobs. Instead of hunting tigers, they do miscellaneous work in the headquarters. Raven's squad is mostly made up of unknown soldiers, except for a few, such as Dongsu and Bonsan. Therefore, naturally, most of the unit's strength is concentrated in the hands of Mr. Yang and Mr. Dongsu. At this minute, Dongsu is having a dialogue with Gunchang. Gunshin suggests the sniper join the Snake Squad. He can talk to the commander to be accepted. Gunshin can't watch his friend squander his precious talent as a crossbowman while standing among these lowlifes. Also, it's foolish to remain in the constant shadow of Commander Yang. But if all the warriors of the squad are so weak, why is Yanga taking them to his place? Naru himself doesn't fully understand why this is happening, but Young-san is a true benefactor to him. Thanks to him, Naru is able to provide for his mother and wife. Bonsan was shocked to hear the information that Naru was married. In any case, the most important reason is to get a decent paycheck for the skin you get. You can't make that kind of money anywhere else. Whoever they are, nobles or commoners, most of them risk their lives to solve their life problems, but there is one nuance. Guys like Naru, who used to be day laborers, have never even held a gun before. Because of this, the commoners fail the tests and become unknown soldiers, while sons from wealthy families become unit members. That's the reality. Dongsu is furious. Gunshin should watch his language. What right does he have to insult Master Yang and his dead comrades? Gongchan is surprised by Dongsu's reaction. He has changed a lot and started calling a man about whom nothing is known as a master. Well, if Dongsu chose to die among the unknown, so be it. Gongchan did his best. Naru had been an unknown soldier for 2 years after joining the hunters. Every day after laundry and cleaning, he practiced martial arts with everything he had. Despite everything he had, he wasn't good enough to pass the notoriously difficult Tiger Hunter Corps test. There was a moment when Naru wanted to give up and go home. That day, Mr. Yonga came in person. He liked Naru's drawing skills and offered to join the Crow Squad as a cartographer. Only then did the guy get the chance to risk his life. This was not only true for Naru, but also for the other comrades. Thanks to Yonga, each of them had gotten that chance. That's why fallen comrades won't blame the deputy leader. As he was leaving, Gongchan remembered something else. He heard that there was a new member of the Crow Squad. The clown. We need to get word to him. The guards at Tiger Hunter headquarters are waiting for him. Do they really want to destroy the details of the mask again? A couple minutes later, the guy was sitting at a table in front of the leaders and their deputies. So what's the reason for this urgent meeting? The leader of the Owl Squad announced that the clown would have a promotion. Bonsan will now serve as a corps guard. After a while, a troop of hunters killed a tiger and found something interesting. Another fragment of the mask. Oddly, new pieces of the map are in tiger territory every time. More and more tiger hunts are accompanied by fragments. This means that tigers are also actively looking for them. So these wooden pieces form a map of the human mask. Maybe then the legendary masked dance with its mystical power really exists. It gets more interesting every day. This clown knows something. 5 days ago, Bonsano announced his promotion. The guy is certainly a lucky guy, now no spirit tests and a straight promotion. Bonsan doesn't understand what this could be related to, but the answer is simple. He was able to single-handedly defeat the Changsan tiger. Defeating a tiger is good, but what about wielding a possessed weapon? Because that's one of the main prerequisites. It says a man must be able to fight a tiger alone. Until now, no one could defeat a tiger without the help of evil spirits, so that became one of the conditions. But if a guy has the skills to overpower a tiger without possessed weapons, why not? Suddenly, the leader of the snake squad appeared. He's not happy with these gatherings. While he was fighting the tiger, they decided to take and appoint another man. After all, no one but Mr. Song saw how the guy did it. Bak Seong was the only one who vouched for the boy's promotion. But that's not enough to just give a commoner the title of nobility. There has always been a clear standard in the hunter squad: possession of a possessed weapon. If standards are not met, then there will be no credibility. And if there is no credibility, the organization will fall apart. They've already accepted Mrs. Zhao, who has no fighting skills, but at least she meets the standards and can use the power of evil spirits. But if they accept someone without the ability to control a possessed weapon, the prestige of tiger hunters will undoubtedly fall. There is no reason to risk disbandment because of one single commoner. Bonsan abruptly got up from the table and asked for a suggestion on the matter. The leader of the snake squad was from a very noble family, and he was infuriated by the fact that the guy let his mouth open. Mr. Yongsa asked Bonsan to present his proposal. Bonsan wanted to step in on the condition that he would be the one in charge of managing the mask fragments. He's the only one who really understands the map these pieces form, and unlike everyone else, Bonsan is more interested in completing the map. Jin Youngwoo jumped up from his seat and rushed towards Bonsan. He was furious at such insolent behavior. Does the guy think that if Baek Sung favors him, the guy can demand something? Bonsan just smiles evasively. The other hunters are trying to calm Youngwoo down. Why does their meeting end in bloodshed every time? The leader of the snake squad asks the guy not to get excited about being appointed to the position, because she hasn't been confirmed yet. On this occasion, Bonsan offers to prove himself and prove that he is worthy of this promotion. He can fight a tiger without a possessed weapon, or fight someone who fights a tiger with a possessed weapon. Several days have passed since that meeting. A troop of owls returns from a hunt. The leader of the wild dog squad is happy to have them back. Today is the day. A battle between the clown and the leader of the snakes. You have to place your bets. The man inquired as to who the leader of the wild dogs had bet on. After all, he never bets on the losing side. A few hours later, a large number of people gathered in the square to watch the fight. Squad leaders take the best seats. It's been a long time since we've had a show like this. Naru and Dongsu are also present at this event. Will the newcomer become a member of the tiger hunting squad? It's time to get started. The public is hungry for spectacle. Bonsan asked his crowning question, "Sir, do you like the mask dance?" In the crowd of spectators, there were arguments and discussions about today's duel. Tiger hunters have also made their own analyses and assumptions. Who's betting on who and why? Gu Bonghua bets on the strong side, seeing the leader of the serpent squad as a potential winner. Though he doesn't like people from high families, this man has skills, especially since he can use two possessed weapons at the same time. On the other side is Bonsan, which has been watched for 5 days in a row. All those 5 days he just ate and slept. He ate an enormous amount of food. He's acting overly confident, but can he really win without training? Naru is alarmed. Does Bonsan really hope to defeat a hunter who wields two possessed swords at once? He must have a clear plan. Maybe he'll use a boar mask. But the chance of success will be maximally negligible because it is worth just one dodge and that's it. What about the strength of a bull or the speed of a deer? Young San is also trying to anticipate the guy's strategy. Last time, he chiseled a monkey mask. I can't believe there are those who would bet on a clown. It's not like he can harness evil spirits with a mask like the hunter leader does. The man doesn't know Bonsan's skills, but he's sure of one thing. His eyes didn't look like the eyes of a man about to lose. Naru saw Bonsan bring up the bull mask. Dongsu was skeptical of this choice, whether a melee fighter could handle a swordsman. Bonsan pulls out another mask from the bull mask. Mr. Young is surprised by what he just saw. The clown puts on a hidden mask. Bonsan is standing up in a fighting stance with machine mask on his face. Naru and Dongsu's mouths dropped open. The leader of the wild dog squad burst out laughing. Mrs. Zhao is at a loss. Each of the hunters was shocked to see this mask. Some were even disgusted. Mr. Young is surprised that Bongsan had a hidden mask hidden. Jin Youngwoo regarded this action as a taunt and asked to wear a real mask. Does this guy really think a rat can beat a tiger? The strength of the mask does not always depend on the strength of the beast. Besides, as his teacher used to say, sometimes small things have great power. Bonsan remembers the hard winter. When he was cold and hungry, he saw a little mouse run up to him. She leaned against Bonsan, and a moment later dozens of other mice joined them. Small but so warm they practically covered little Bonsan. At that moment, he was sleeping in the warmth, and I could hear their tiny hearts beating. The clown clutched his chest and asked if Mr. Yunwoo had ever heard a mouse's heartbeat. But in response, Jin Youngwoo only threatened to rip out the guy's heart. Gu Bonghua has been waiting for the fight to start. Don't talk like that anymore. The duel begins. Jin Youngwoo is sure the guy is just bluffing because he lacks confidence. But on the line where lives are at stake, bluffing doesn't save you. Jin Youngwoo wants to teach Bonsan a lesson, but before he knows it, the distance between them has shrunk to a minimum. The clown is one step away from Mr. Yunwoo. The leader of the snake squad doesn't realize when he's had time to shorten the distance. Heart. The heart is the source of life. If it stops, death is inevitable. A rat, which dies in just half a day without food, must keep moving. Its small body consuming everything in its path to survive. Its heart burns, like a fire being fueled by a shovel. With a heart that beats 10 times faster than a human's, its world moves 10 times slower. Bonsan throws a strike that throws his opponent off balance by a few meters. Jin Youngwoo only barely touches Bonsan's hair, cutting a small strand off his head. One of the swords flies into the crowd of onlookers. Looking at the clown, one would think that he was already exhausted, whereas Jin Youngwoo's nose was merely bleeding. The soldiers didn't even have time to see what happened. The Snake Squad commander underestimated the guy and was caught off guard. The clown was very clever and attacked before the hunter would use the power of the spirits. Mr. Young appreciated the new mask. It's perfect for one-on-one battles. A mask that grants explosive speed in short bursts. But there are some weaknesses. It seems like Bonsan is about to faint. The duelists are facing each other. Youngwoo has one sword left in his hands. Jin Youngwoo was enraged. He didn't expect such a sneak attack. Suddenly, something went wrong. The leader of the Snake Squad let go of the second sword and began to lose his balance. His opponent is knocked out. The indescribable look on Naru and Dongsu's faces. Looks like the duel has come to an end. Gu Bonghua is completely bewildered. He can't believe his eyes. Mrs. Zhao and Mr. Yonga are also slightly confused. Tiger Hunting Corps promotion duel concluded. The winner is Mask Dance Clown Bongsan.